joined the team, neither of us really understood the game correctly. And we were a little bit stubborn as far as trying to see other people's perspectives. Like, we both sort of had this wrong view of the game that we were confident about. And when that happens, it's going to obviously lead to problems. And we just didn't really click too well. But I think now we both just have a better understanding of how the game is supposed to be played. And if one of us isn't on the same pages, we're also a lot better at working together to find out what the right thing to do is.
Well, it's nice to see them grow up so fast, but welcome back to the Battle Theater where Cloud9 dominated Game 1 of the back end of that Game 3 series against Liquid. Liquid, definitely some good showings there in the first half of the game, but interesting to see what they adjust, because their first plan clearly didn't work in Game 1.
Yeah, exactly, and they put a huge burden on Lorlo to carry, and he made some individual misplays that really made that plan backfire with some poor invades as well as some critical 1v1 deaths to Impact. And Phoenix, even though he's been such a massive share of their damage and their victories, was put on more of a utility champion in Zillion. So that change of strategy didn't seem to work all that well for Liquid, so I'm wondering if they just kind of default back into Lorlo on a bruiser of some kind, and Phoenix on something like Victor, because that was available very late into the draft.
I think in general, Liquid might just want to look to say, you know what, we tried the big macro game thing, clearly not working in the current iteration of the team. Maybe they just go crazy, start ganking more with Dardoch, just play a bit more aggressive, because Cloud9 will now take you late and happily beat you.
Yeah, and that's kind of the crazy thing, because maybe you can think in your pregame preparation, if you're Team Liquid, like, yeah, what if we just play super slow and then react to Cloud9 being over-aggressive? And maybe they were completely surprised that Cloud9 decided to play such a slow macro game with Impact, ended up winning the 1v1 and basically winning the game. So plenty of adjustments. Team Liquid likes to play more aggressive, so I expect something like that more from Game 2.
Yeah, on the other side, of course, Cloud9, not too much to change, but we have our regular change for a Cloud9 best of 3. Smoothie, woo! He's back in for game number 2.
Yeah, I think it's actually super interesting because we were finally getting some more insight into the Smoothie Bunny Fufu swap. Last week, we got to see this by watching Cloud9's documentary, Genesis, out there, and they had wanted to sub in Bunny for Smoothie towards the latter end, or they wanted to keep Smoothie in for both games towards the latter end of a series because they were worried that it would hurt Bunny's confidence and he'd be under too much pressure if he subs in after a victory. But they didn't submit the substitution quickly enough, so Bunny swapped in, and then he crushed on Thresh anyways. So it does appear like they're going to just continue to swap back and forth, maybe against matchups where they feel like they're even more favored. They feel like it's a lower pressure situation. Based on the episode, I was thinking, oh yeah, they're just going to go with the hot hand. If you win the first one, you get to stay. Clearly not.
Nope.
They're going to continue to do the swaps.
Yeah, and again, we've got 2 great support players on Cloud9. It feels like definitely no lack of synergy there on the bottom side. So everything very normal as we move into the draft for game number 2. TL though going to swap to the left-hand side. That'll be blue. Cloud9 over on the red this time around. And Smoothie. These are the only changes really. Cloud9 up a game in the best of 3. It says Cassio and Vlad banned away once again. TL with their second ban. It is Braum, actually. So away from Bunny in the last game, but also away from Smoothie, who's now subbed in for this one.
Yeah, really good team fight presence that they're getting out of that champion. It blocks a lot of initiations and is super defensive in team fights. Also, I think we now have the customary red side ban of Vladimir. People have played against it enough in the LCS that they do not want to do it again.
It's not a fun experience usually for the team playing against it. As Cloud9, next ban is Shen, actually. So away from Impact, but on the red side, not wanting to give it over for TL for a potential first pick. That is huge respect to the power of that champion.
It really is, and it just kind of goes to show the shifting priorities based on the duration of the season. These guys have been finding more and more success from Shen, and really after what Impact did to Lorlo with it last game, I can understand why they wouldn't want Team Liquid to first pick it.
Well, there's Sivir banned from Team Liquid, so also respecting the power of the champion Fabi played last game, despite a loss there in the first one. And Cloud9 now with a final ban to deliver over, and Team Liquid with the first pick. See what Cloud9 take away and what TL have teed up for the first pick here.
Yeah. I think the Cassiopeia ban is something that Phoenix wouldn't play. The other bans are more things of Team Liquid not wanting to give them up in second rotation, and Cloud9's bans are mainly things they'd be fearful of Team Liquid first picking. And I think that trend continues, whereas all of those champions would have been first picked by Team Liquid had they not been banned. What's even more interesting is if they would have just banned none of those champions, they potentially could have gotten 2 of 3. But I think Vladimir against Shen Karma wouldn't have been very favorable for Cloud9 anyways, so therefore they banned those 3 champs.
Well, we heard about sort of the big picks worldwide. Vladimir Karma were among them of the 4 champions. The other 2, though, were actually left open. Azir and Rise, which, by the way, are the 2 most banned champions against Team Liquid, will be left open. But, of course, you only get one of them on the blue side. We'll see if Team Liquid even want to burn a first pick on a powerful mid laner.
It's a lot of confidence from Jensen saying he'll be able to win either side of that matchup. But we also have to remember that the Trundle ban was dropped by Cloud9, and now Lorlo gets to play that. And there's not many things that can consistently beat Trundle in lane. Swain has been a pick that some teams have taken in, namely TSM, but that's not something that Impact has played much of. In fact, 0 Swain games this split.
Yep, but
Maybe he plays Lissandra into it eventually.
Yep, I think he's done that recently, actually, in his Lissandra game, so has that available to him. Do want to mention that I think we've seen late game Fiora take over the matchup as well, which is kind of funny, but obviously not by Impact. He doesn't have a play on it yet. Rise, though, going to be the first hover here for C9. Clearly have it on the minds here. Could, of course, be a champion for Impact if they do want that sort of double AP action. But Cloud9, 10 seconds left to review this first part of their draft.
Oh.
It's a classic. Looks to be Ashe Azir, and it is.
Yep, Ashe and Azir, and something unique here is that they're going to be pushing Fabi away from the supportive AD carries. In all but one of Fabi's games in the LCS, he has played Ashe or Sivir. Not one game was a Lucian against Phoenix 1, so that's most likely going to be his pick coming in, but it will push the rest of Team Liquid onto more utility-focused champions, since the AD carry will most likely only be bringing damage.
Yep, and that's one of those things where, you know, we'd expect maybe Jhin in that spot as sort of your other utility AD carry in that trifecta, but haven't seen it from Fabi yet. Maybe he shows it off here, or maybe Liquid do make some adjustments and just go a bit more aggressive. Lolo, very comfortable top laner, probably comfy in whatever matchup C9 decide to throw at him, but I wouldn't mind seeing Dardoch, even though he's just hovering it now, go back to something like the Lee Sin and just maybe go crazy.
Yeah, every time Dardoch's just like, you know, if you let me play this, I might be able to take over the game. There's that chance that I'll just go off. They're hovering away from it right now. You can tell there's definitely a lot of conversation. This is a fairly common occurrence in Champ Select between Dardoch and Loco, having like very heated conversations towards the latter half. So wouldn't be too surprised to see Lee Sin later, but they go with some more obvious picks early on.
Yep, Bard and Rise actually the picks. Is Jensen leaning all the way back in his chair. That does not look
common sight.
That does not look like a man worried about the Azir vs Rise matchup. He's like, yep, that's fine. It's the 2000th time I've played it this year, probably.
Yeah. When you blind pick Azir, although he's an incredibly powerful champion, you have a lot of faith in yourself to just pull off all the combos. And I mean, based on Jensen's performance thus far this split, I see no reason why he wouldn't believe that.
No, I think he's fairly confident. He's just a great... He's like really far back there. Someone's hitting the ref, I think. All right, moves back forward. Now it's to pick something.
He has to...
Time to do work. Hovers a moo-moo.
Hovers a moo-moo. I mean, that's the most important thing about locking in clearly. Cloud9, one of the few teams to play a moo-moo in competitive play.
Shoutouts to Jungle High. Jensen, I think, just having some fun. Well, we'll see what Cloud9 do actually lock in for these next few picks. Not too long to take them away, but Rek'Sai for Meteos is a common occurrence. But not going to take it just yet. Actually, it is Nami for Smoothie and Lissandra, presumably for Impact there in that top lane matchup.
Yeah, so Meteos is actually going to get the counter pick in the jungle, which is really interesting to me. Dardoch very early picked Rek'Sai last game. Didn't find too much success, so I feel like Meteos is very confident if he's going up against a Rek'Sai again. Because there's no need to pick the Lissandra or the Nami this early. The solo lanes in the supportive Team Liquid had already been revealed. So really, it's just trying to get as much counter pick value as possible. The role that they had not been decided by Team Liquid yet was the jungle, so they're figuring they can just counter it.
Yep, well, we'll see if that works out for them, because 20 seconds now for TR to lock this in. I love the flash of the Draven, but there's the Jhin.
Yeah, and the peculiar jungle pick as well. No jungle bans on the board, no junglers picked, and of every jungler in League of Legends, Dardoch picks Gragas. So the displacement can be quite valuable against Ashe, Azir, and Nami. But aside from that, not usually something you see at the top tier of a jungle choice.
No.
I think he's going to be going for some very early ganks here with the Gragas and look to take over the game with that.
And it's not quite Lee Sin, but can certainly get aggressive with the pick. We'll see if he does, in fact, opt for it. But Meteos is like, all right, guess I'll just take this champion that I've played a million times.
I'll just take the S-tier jungler with the final pick. No problem, guys. He's hovering it. Maybe he goes with something else.
Maybe. Played Graves last game, but that was into Rek'Sai. With Rek'Sai available, it does Meteos stick to something I think he has been known for throughout his career, being very consistent with his jungle pool. He's really known for mastery of the meta champions when he first emerged into the scene. Rek'Sai is certainly on top right now, it feels like, as far as current junglers go. And just going to confer with Coach Reaper for a few seconds as they do lock it in. And once again, Cloud9 stare down at the draft. They're like, oh, that's pretty good. We're pretty happy with what we put together.
Yeah, the only thing they'd have to be slightly worried about is the fact that they're running a very clear double AP composition. But if you look at the side of Team Liquid, aside from the Trundle, it's relatively difficult for the Magic Resist stacking to come in for TL. And they're still going to have Ashe, who's going to be a very large form of physical damage in the late game. So I like Cloud9's choices. I like the fact that Team Liquid is mixing it up, and they did secure the Trundle. Although the Gragas is the big question mark for me here. Picking that above all else, he's going to have to do some huge work early to make that pick worth it.
And our featured jungle matchup between Meteos and Dardoch, I think we'll maybe get a good chance to shine on the Team Liquid side of things. Dardoch can certainly make the big plays. He's known for some aggressive and creative gank pathing. Can he pull it off here? And Phoenix as well, we talked about shifts in power. This is much more what we're used to on the Team Liquid side of things. Lawler on a nice safe top laner they can get some pressure going with, and Phoenix on a huge carry mid laner.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Phoenix is going to be a little sad he didn't get to play Azir. That's banned against him so often, but you can see where Team Liquid's priorities lie right now. Like, they really need to make sure that Lorlo has a good champion for them, because otherwise they're really just super one-dimensional in their carry strategies, but that does mean that they don't get Phoenix on his best champion.
Well, we'll have to see as the team comp's going to line up against each other. Don't forget, of course, to keep using those hashtags. I'll keep tallying those votes as we move throughout the game. I think Team Liquid have made some necessary and intelligent adjustments sort of moving into this game. But is it enough to topple Cloud9, who are looking for, I believe, at least 6 straight wins if they win this game?
Yeah, this would be their 7th straight, because they closed out the series against Apex, and then they double 2-0'd last week, and would be on the process of 2-0ing this week, which does, again, speak to Cloud9's improvement, because in the first 3 weeks, 5 of their 6 matches went the distance to 3 games. They were incredibly inconsistent. We talked about whether or not they'd be able to find that consistency, and a lot of that inconsistency was just coming from the fact that they didn't know how to close out games. But they are getting better and better, which continues to impress me.
And I will even harken back to just the game we had, even though it was, more of a deliberate game, Cloud9 still closed out rather efficiently. Yes, they played relatively safe. As the wall gets cleared out, the first CS does go to Sneaky.
Boom.
Lane's over, pack it up.
Yeah. He's got a huge advantage now.
10 gold.
Woo. Get his call 10 gold faster. If he goes call, unlikely.
We'll see. Might even have standard lanes as well, actually, with the current setup, but C9 is going to wander back towards the middle of the map. Smoothie joining Jensen for a bit of hand-holding. C9 not fully committed yet, and looks like we might actually just have standard lanes, but we'll wait a little while longer. Fabi and Matt hanging out in the brush. This is adorable. I hope they stay.
Just stick around. Hope to get some early poke-off. If Cloud9 go to the lane. It's interesting that they weren't able to get any type of deep wards. Jhin Bard could do Krugs, as could Ashe and Nami for the Gromp, but they have to be careful that there's no delayed invade. Both teams have wards to spot out the delayed invade, so they can take these with a high level of security.
Yep, and this is just fine here. I don't mind Fabi and Matt peeking up a little further into the lane, but looks like both duo lanes will start their camp as expected, and we will get standard lane, so no swap this time around. Let's see if Impact continues to draw attention, because the last time he played solo, and I believe it was this matchup as well, Lissandra into Trundle, they've made some pretty big plays, coming off a real hot game 1.
Yeah.
See what happens here in the second one for him. As Jensen and Phoenix still battling, but again, should be pretty quiet in the early stages of this lane.
Impact's Lissandra has been so good, and he's been consistently able to get ahead in matchups which could technically outscale him and never let the outscaling to happen. It's also fairly clever of Cloud9. They've done this before against the Trundle, is they are not allowing a super tank for Trundle to shred and become even tankier. Notice the range support, the Lissandra top lane. If anyone, he's going to be ulting Meteos, but Meteos, especially if he goes a Hydra build, isn't going to be stacking a large amount of resistances, and Cloud9 will still be able to initiate and get tank-like play out of the Lissandra. And while we have a small second, I do want to... Oh, never mind. Dardoch's going to be ganking. I will get into the tank-like play of Lissandra later. This is Dardoch trying to make a play onto Jensen.
Yep, this is what we expected. Early aggression here onto Jensen. He's got the flash, trying to get out of it. Doesn't want to get body slammed. Just is very patient and gets out without burning a summoner.
Whoa, that was some next-level play by Jensen right there. And Meteos goes in!
Meteos, huge knock up there as Nap. It's actually bubbled up as well. That's a flash forward, but Sneaky going to move in for it. Damage not quite there. Meteos snared up, but the Price Seeker barely lets Matt live.
31 health, so teams trade ganks. Cloud9 consume 3 flashes in the process of that, but do get 3 summoners back from Team Liquid, with Fabi and Matt burning theirs as well. And to get to Jensen's gank escape, I thought that was really clever, because a lot of times Gragas will body slam in, predicting the interrupt on the E from the Azir, and Jensen moved his soldiers away like he was going to be dashing to him, but never pressed his E until after the body slam had completed. Then he'd eat away and made it. I'm not sure if he was rune prison to block him, but I'm going to give him the credit. without seeing it again, Jensen's really good at dodging ganks.
And that's the thing. Jensen is just so good in those tiny micro situations like you described in game 1 that he's hard a mid laner to kill the most, even with a jungler like Gragas. Dardoch holds on to his flash shot. We'll see if he goes for a repeat.
But it's super important that Jensen didn't burn his flash in that gank, because that's actually all Dardoch wanted from that first gank. He didn't want to kill, he just wanted to burn the flash. And then the repeat gank with Gragas, if you have a flash advantage over the opponent, is almost always an assured kill. But because Jensen was patient enough, that didn't happen, and I feel like Dardoch's early gank pressure is greatly diminished because of that.
And our early predictions holding true for a little bit. Impact up in CS right now in the 1v1, looking to zone Lolo off some creeps. And again, left to his own devices, Impact showing great strength in this particular matchup. Seems to like it. We'll see if Lolo can maybe play catch up a bit again, as Jensen with a blue buff actually fresh off the Rek'Sai. I think it's part of why C9 like Rek'Sai so much.
Yeah, it's true actually. Meteos has talked exclusively about how he doesn't like blue buff, and he also doesn't like Aegis, because there are these items where one player has to make a sacrifice for the other team and make himself weak, and he's like, and it sucks to feel weak. I don't like having to give stuff to other teams, but if they pick themselves into these situations where he doesn't need the thing and he can make the other guy stronger without feeling bad about himself, it's like perfect for Cloud9 and Meteos, who can still be aggressive and farm heavy, but he just has to give away that one little thing that he doesn't really need in the first place.
That synergy Meteos and Jensen talked about building.
Yeah.
Blue buffs on tap for your mid laner is pretty good, especially a player of Jensen's caliber. Phoenix, though, doing just fine. Does TP back to lane with that tier. Going to start stacking that up. And Jensen, of course, with the exhaust, as he not the best-known teleporter in the mid lane. But he'll waddle back just fine after buying in second. Doran's nice snare there onto Sneaky, but Smoothie there with the heals to cover.
Yeah, the Nami I really like in this matchup, just because it can get rid of any little sustain Bard and Jhin can poke down them from. That wasn't a real sentence. But they can sustain up as they get poked. That's the important thing. And it makes Team Liquid have to all in, which is very dangerous when they don't have summoners. So therefore, Cloud9 can hopefully farm this one out. But they did burn both their flashes previously. And this is that flash delta we were talking about. Dardoch has flash, Cloud9's lane doesn't. But the dual lane is difficult to gank because they can literally approach with wards, which they have done.
Well, yep, they actually spot Dardoch. I wondered if maybe Matt had given it away with the aggressive Cosmic Binding, but doesn't find a target. Dardoch will have to come back another day if he wants to try and get ganks up on the bottom side. Phoenix, though, just going to burn the ultimate and plow down that minion wave. But again, just trading wave clear between these two. These are some of the two best mid laners for a reason. Awfully powerful, especially once they start scaling. So we'll see who wins the arms race this time between the two mids. But it's all quiet so far as Meteos is going to take that Scuttercraft out. It might even look for a visit down bottom lane.
Yeah, knowing that flashes are still going to be on cooldown. Meteos' flash will come out a little bit before Fabi's, because junglers and supports typically take the summoner spell cooldown mastery. Since all the flashes are burned at the same time, maybe that's what Meteos is open for, but Dardoch reads this. And just like in game 1, these junglers are usually in the same place.
Spotted, I think, though, because Dardoch got seen by
Gank potential, but they landed on Matt.
Yeah, Matt actually knock-ups there. The teleport's in, but first blood already goes to the Rek'Sai. Dardoch, though, back in onto Sneaky, and Lawler's down as well. Fabi able to get that kill, but Impact going to try and turn things around. Does ulti himself after a good little snare, but Cena can't follow back in. Now Impact's going to get body slammed. That'll force him to flash out of the way. And TL with a teleport first. Snare off Impact. Lawler's going to try and take him down, but Fabi's not in range for the final shot.
Yeah, and the kills actually go over in favor of Team Liquid because they get the kill onto Fabi, whereas Cloud9 got first blood onto Meteos. The first blood will matter a little bit, and Impact's got a juke, or otherwise he's dead.
He can't. Oh, Juke's the last one. No, can't get the crit bullet out. Dardoch even in with the ulti.
Yeah, he got that hint of move speed from the Nami, which allowed him to dodge shot number 3, but Fabi rings true with the 4th shot guaranteed crit and turned that into a favorable trade for Team Liquid, and that is credit to Dardoch for the counter gank. Even though Matt was completely bursted out, Team Liquid was on the same page in getting that counter gank to happen, and they do come out of it ahead.
Yeah, Cloud9 thought they could win it, but it is TL that come up trumps there in the first little exchange. Gold's still even, but some good power there for Fabi, especially with both of those kills. Goes back with a double long set and now a BF sword, as we'll watch this one again.
Yeah, and this is Meteos having to use everything just to get in onto Matt. All of the CC from Cloud9 there, from the knockup to the bubble, goes immediately. And then Trundle teleports in a pretty good position where he can immediately turn on to Sneaky with the pillar after Dardoch had got him, and Sneaky still didn't have his flash up, so he completely dies. Then Impact tries to create a zone with his self-ultimate, but because Sneaky is already dead, damage just isn't there to buy any time when Impact is self-ulted, so therefore he has to flash away. Team Liquid stay pretty healthy. They still have their damage dealer since it's their support that died, not their damage dealer. And Fabi ping 6 just decides to open up. 1, 2... little bit of move speed from the E, the heal pops, but it's not enough before the kill happens. And able to land properly with that ultimate.
Well, very nice there from Team Liquid. Out to an early advantage of sorts, despite not a lead of any kind right now. They'll be up in kills, though. We talked about it, wanting to play maybe a bit more on the front foot this time. It's a good start to things as Jensen is going to sweep away his blue buff with a bit of assistance there from Meteos, but no need to wait around too long. Meteos does his chores, and Jensen returns back to mid lane.
And look at the friendship. He gives him the small blue buff, even though he could have easily attacked it with a little critter right there. That's the honorable thing to do as a mid laner. Don't go taking the jungler's experience after he gives you the blue buff.
Well, Lolo actually doesn't really give it to Impact 1v1. Catalyst only as Impact doesn't quite follow through with that claw. Lolo, though, with an early Spectre's Cow, did get 2 assists off the TP in the bottom lane, so starting to turn this matchup around and catching quickly up on CS.
Yeah, it'll be very difficult for Impact to have any type of kill pressure on Lorlo, but it's also fairly easy for a Lissandra of this level to wave clear. Defiro will come in if they ever get into a lane freeze situation. Matt flashes in, it takes a lot of damage.
Looks for Smoothie, Matt's actually going to get it turned around, but Sneaky hits a bullet, Hawkshot. Little short, now Dardoch's back, Meteos is here as well. Dardoch, though, body slams in, Meteos blocks it effectively. And Dardoch look for the ulti, but doesn't find it. Smoothie gets away.
Both junglers really paying close attention to this bottom side, and that's because the summoner spell cooldowns continue to cycle. Now with Matt being down Flash Shining Knight, but Cloud9 still having all their summoner spells, I mean, Cloud9 might be looking to go onto Fabi and Matt. That was a near counter gank by Cloud9 because it's actually Dardoch who had made the initial approach, and why Matt was in a dangerous situation in the first place.
Well, nice stuff there from both sides, but Jensen now with a Stinger ready, and almost the Nashor's done with a Fiendish Codex built up as well. Everyone's just sort of scaling with all this attention in the bottom half. Lolo and Impact getting a CS, actually evened it back up as Impact will return to get a bit of an edge and clean up some more creeps for himself. Rotovator's almost there. See what Lolo does, if he continues to go defensive or maybe now looks to a more aggressive item as he does go back, pick up that Vamp Scepter, so he'll be transitioning into kind of his first split pushing item.
Yeah, he's most likely going to be going Ravenous Hydra in this matchup, and it's always an interesting choice because Trundle gets a lot of innate healing just from his passive when things die, that oftentimes, I think in the vast majority of cases, Titanic Hydra is actually better because the only way Trundle will die is in a gank situation where people are beating him down. He should never die in a 1v1 because he gets to steal stats and has so much innate sustain. But here, maybe he's just thinking Impact's going to be doing a ton of poke to him, like more than he'd be able to heal up through Spirit, Visage, and passive, and he's going to go with Ravenous. Not an unpopular choice, many people do it, but it'll make him a little bit more vulnerable to ganks.
Well, everyone's just chilling out for a little while. It looks like Fabi actually does have the Caulfield's Warhammer done, so Essence Reaver should be his first item. I imagine Sneaky will do the same, so kind of mirrored builds early on, as I do like Phoenix's early Merc Treads. They're adorable. Building up those mana items. A Sneaky going to move in for maybe a Drake. I thought an Arrow, but CNN going to try and take this first objective for themselves.
Yeah, a lot of times when you have a relatively tanky team, just building Mercury Treads is enough to invalidate the Ash Arrow, because they're not going to be able to burst you quickly enough in the short duration of the CC. But now they go for Drake, and teleports could come in from Team Liquid if they want to contest.
This is spotted, but
or Dardoch can steal.
For oh, Dardoch finds Jensen, gets the ulti back in as well. Straight into Rune Prisoners. Jensen somehow zips out. Impact now in there as the teleport comes in. Arrow into Lolo could be enough, but Fabi shooting from the backlines as well. Ulti goes in as Dardoch slays Impact. Last bullet smacks Meteos in the face as well, and now Smoothie could be the next target. Lolo takes a bite out, but TL don't keep going.
Beautiful CC chain there onto Jensen. Dardoch goes really quick for the initiation. This is the aggressiveness we talked about in the pregame that we wanted to see from Team Liquid, and Dardoch is able to execute that with the Gragas so far, and it was immediately into a Rune Prison as well after they ulted, so Jensen really couldn't shift out to any form of safety, and Fabi's eventually able to finish him off. Big win there for Team Liquid, taking the Dragon from Cloud9 while Cloud9 had started fourth.
Might even get a turret out of the deal as well. So good stuff there. TL actually got the Drake out of it also, so going to collect everything off of that exchange. Turret's going to fall. TL up a good amount of gold as Fabi delivers the last bullet. And it's almost 2,500 gold up already for Team Liquid. This is the early game they wanted in the first game.
Yeah, gold plus Drake advantage. And let's watch this initiation one more time. Cloud9 looks like they have the advantage, and they're threatening with the teleport from the Thunder, but the teleport's coming from Team Liquid more quickly. And then watch Jensen here. Just gets pegged at the very end there by Fabi after getting completely chained by the CC. And then the Trundle Pillar comes in at just the right spot to cut off the retreat. 3 early kills on a Fabi. Very important for TL.
Yep, set up to maybe have a big carry performance. 3-0-1 right now as Phoenix is into the backline.
That's the double teleport.
Gonna maybe have to arrow him, but Smoothie gonna get caught up. Exhaust is down. C9 just turn and run. But Phoenix gonna keep snaring. Arrow's good, but the lockdown's there from the Jhin at long range. And Smoothie gonna keep getting chased. Phoenix needs one more spell and delivers the overload straight to the back.
Yeah, Sneaky can only do so much to save Smoothie in that situation. And without a turret, they push into the lane. And that's just an oversight by Cloud9. Obviously, they don't want to be denied the farm, but Phoenix didn't have to teleport into that last fight, so they still had the one teleport up, and they're able to get a kill off of it. Now Jensen's pushed up in the mid lane. Things are getting dicey for C9.
Yeah, forced to ulti out, but snared up by Rise still. Matt's actually here. He collects the kill with an auto. Jensen burns a flash and still dies for it. TL up 6 kills to 1 already.
Yeah, it's just going from bad to worse for Cloud9. They are not up to the tempo of Team Liquid, and they're not able to recover. They're just cycling death timers and losing map pressure. And every time they're trying to catch up in map pressure, Team Liquid is already there to punish. So these last 3 minutes from Team Liquid have been expertly done, and they're going to continue to push their advantage until Cloud9 could stop them.
Yeah, Oben started by this man as well. Dardoch maybe looking for a dive. Fabi opens up on the ulti. Sneaky gonna force the tidal wave out as he eats
nice
from
chains.
Bard. But that's too much CC. Liquid gonna take him out. And
yeah, they just continue to crush. Like, that was beautiful by Team Liquid. And then Lorlo's going for impact too.
looking for the solo kill. Needs another auto. Lolo dives the turret and takes him out. Team Liquid are going crazy.
Everything on Cloud9 is just falling apart right now. But Team Liquid is perfect in these last few minutes. They are constantly going for plays, and C9 just really can't keep up. Like, that dive in the mid lane was so good. Matt landed his ultimate. He perfectly chained it into a stun from Bard. Fabi chained it into another stun. Dardoch came in. Phoenix Rune Prism. Like, everyone is layering their CC in just the right way to make these things inescapable for Cloud9.
And we talked about shifting the power back. It really feels like everyone on TL is in the right spot. Dardoch able to play up and aggressive. Fabi and Matt able to start a fight from almost any distance away between the Bard and the Jhin. And then Phoenix and Lolo ready for cleanup duty. It's just all going to plan so far as we watch this wonderful dive again.
And we talked about C9 not being able to catch up. There's no Azir here for the wave clear, so why is Sneaky necessarily there? They try and zonal tidal wave, but Sneaky gets chain CC. Bardald to Rune Prison. The Jhin W didn't even hit him. And then Impact in the top lane just gets soloed. Lorlo has a Spectre's Cowl, so he's pretty big. He flashes in knowing Impact doesn't have a flash, and he uses Claw already. So Lorlo just easily picks up the kill. Team Liquid just calculating properly, and C9 look a little tilted.
Yeah, Phoenix actually pushing up. Forced Impact off the turret. Gonna look to take the outer turrets in very quick fashion here. 2 turrets to 0 already, and a huge amount of kills gives Liquid a rather substantial lead at this stage of the game. And Lolo is gonna find Meteos, who face checks him, and that is not a fight Meteos wants. Intelligently backs away, but this is not safe for Sneaky either. Luckily for him, there are no other Team Liquid members there yet. He'll take the wave and back away.
Yeah, and there are also no wards placed behind him in which he can be teleport collapsed on, because either the Rise or the Trundle coming in behind him would most likely mean death.
Well, Phoenix actually is going to transfer to this top lane. Looks like he fancies a 1v1, which I think makes sense, given that he's quite strong at this stage. Impact falling a bit behind, although he does have early items done, and Phoenix going to force him off a turret and take this down. TL just have too much presence on this top half of the map.
Yeah, and a lot of presence
That's
from
so
Dardoch.
greedy, Jensen!
Whoa.
Tried to take the Raptor, zips away. Does get out from under it, but
Yep.
barely escaped that situation as Phoenix takes the top outer.
Greedy play. Phoenix was able to get the third turret. Jensen really trying to not fall behind and farm, and kind of trying to maybe solo carry this one. Arrow hits, but
No follow-up.
to what effect?
Good arrow from Sneaky, but no one there to clean up for C9. Phoenix almost looking like he might dive Impact. But the ult is there for Lysandra, but Team Liquid on the other side, busy taking a tier 2 out. This is just a mess now for Cloud9. Team Liquid have taken over.
Team Liquid also have pressure in all lanes, which is the most impressive part.
Here's the force. Cloud9 know they have to do something. Meteos gets bound up. Fabi flashes for good measure. C9 thwarted again, starting to fall too far behind.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about Game 1, how Cloud9 had this confidence that they'd be able to win all the lanes and kind of stop the pressure from Team Liquid happening. Well, they've effectively lost every single lane this game. Bottom lane was a party for everyone, but Team Liquid was definitely there first in most situations, and were able to get a bunch of kills on a Fabi, so that tilted the matchup in their side. Phoenix has been able to teleport, and Jensen hasn't been able to get any type of solo kills. And then the fact that Lorlo's solo could impact is just a complete role reversal from the previous game. And then you add that to the fact that Team Liquid is now switching up their lane matchups and putting Phoenix in a side lane, which is one of the reasons that Ryze is such a highly contested pick, because he flexes so well for you and can always be in a side lane and give you more pressure for double teleport. And Team Liquid is just doing all of these things exactly when they need to, and I think the pace, more than anything, has really caught Cloud9 off of guard. Team Liquid had 1 kill in a 40-plus minute game, and now they're making so many plays. Like, none of these kills were really Cloud9 making a super aggressive play and Team Liquid reacting. This has just been an incredibly proactive game for Team Liquid, and Cloud9 hasn't been able to respond.
Yeah, if you want to compare the games, it's almost 4 times faster for Team Liquid, given that we're not quite at the 20-minute mark. And Team Liquid are already out to a roaring start. 6,000 gold ahead is the lead for TL, but at a second Mountain Drake to their collection as well. And C9 are just stuck farming side lanes, hoping something doesn't break in the meantime. But TL, given the pace they have set, will not let up from this point.
Yeah, definitely not. It's looking like Team Liquid will try and really rush this one. Although, interesting defensive early choice by Fabi. He went QSS super early. I suppose he's thinking everyone else builds Merc Treads. If I get hit by Ash Arrow, it's like our single point of failure. He's very confident as a team.
Phoenix, again, still hanging out in this side wave, though. Got 2 items, starting to really stack up the Archandles as well. Seraph should not be too far away. And Jensen almost again eats it, dodges the snare as well. Talk about how good he is in a macro situation. Matt gonna move back towards the tower. Good flash out, but the tower collects him, and Jensen collects a ridiculous outplay.
That was insane. Like, the number of things he did to outplay to make that kill happen. How do you do that? Like, he did everything right, but now Phoenix also in danger of being domed.
Here's the dive, but Lolo's here, locked up with the Frozen Tomb, and Phoenix able to flash out of the way. Shield pops in, Sneaky taking damage, but he just face tanks it to try and get him. Lolo wants in, but he has to flash out to safety. Whoa! Comes back down and takes out Sneaky, but he's going to die for it.
We're going to see a pause.
Alrighty then.
We're definitely going to see a pause for that. And this is going to be super interesting because that was what looked like a super, super old bug that you haven't seen for a while. It's one of those, when you get knocked up into the air, you stay there for longer. But what looked like was happening is Lorlo was still hitting Sneaky while he was in the air, which resulted in his death because Sneaky couldn't notice that was happening. Oh boy, this is going to be a really difficult decision for the referees to make a judgment on.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but we do have a pause. Jensen's big outplay apparently needed something to match it, and that tower dive did that and more.
Yeah.
Great dive though by C9. Like, everything else aside, the fact that they're able to get a nice proactive play for Jensen with just a strict outplay, and then move in to actually make an aggressive play, given the position the game was in, that's the kind of thing C9 needed to do to keep themselves in the game and kind of shorten that lead again. And depending on what happens, at least in the spirit of the play, that's what they've done now.
Yeah, you oftentimes, like, kind of condemn these things of, oh yeah, we just need to take bigger risks to try and come back in the game. If you're comparing it to other sports, it'd be like playing hero ball in the NBA. It's like, I'm just going to take all the shots and shoot us back into the game, where really, no, you need to like do cohesive team play to make this happen. But in this very short instance for Cloud9, it actually looked like a little bit of both. Like, Jensen played hero ball, got a kill, and that set up the rest of the team to make a very intelligent dive where they nearly got 2 kills. So a couple things I'm going to like to see again as they try and review that bug is the super awesome outplay by Jensen. And then I actually kind of want to see the bug again to see exactly why we're in this pause.
I believe you're in luck, because I think we are going to see one or both of those things again.
All right.
At some point, I believe we have a replay queued up and ready to go. See if you can do some detective work for me. I believe in you.
Yeah, well, first off, hopefully we're going to be able to see the replay. As soon as we'll get that up, we'll be able to talk through it. But yeah, Jensen, so many layers of outplay on that Azir, even though he'd been having a poor game already, and that's one of the large things he's able to do as a carry. And then the dive in the top lane was fairly well executed as well, dealing with the double TP and kind of kiting back and forth the damage. And even though the gold is still like massively in the favor of Team Liquid.
Here we go.
Okay, this is the reason why we're paused, by the way. So the dive begins. Everyone on C9 kills Phoenix first, but then something should work as a knockup. It would be,
Unburrow.
The Unburrow hits the Trundle, and that sends him into the sky. And then as he's coming back down, Sneaky can't see him, and he gets killed. So a lot of times, the team that is affected by the bug will be offered a remake, but I'm not entirely sure what'll happen in this situation, because it's like no one has any, like, there was no agency here for Team Liquid to like want this bug, but technically, like, this is an incredibly favorable game for Team Liquid and a really high percentage win. So I think either way, it's actually a bad situation for TL right here, and maybe C9 gets really lucky, because that could potentially be the outcome. That, I think, is fairly clearly a bug. I think it may have impacted the Sneaky. I'm not going to make a statement. This is totally the referees.
Obviously.
Talking myself into a hole right now. But, I mean, that's one of the ways that this could happen.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, you know, you get unburrowed, you come back down. Obviously, Trundle, as soon as he's un-CC, you're going to start hitting away. But no vision there for Sneaky. It does create an interesting situation. Back on what you were talking about with Jensen though earlier, because I think you made a great point. You said it in game one. I've seen it time and time again whenever we see Jensen play. His, like, individual control of just his champions and his keyboard and mouse. How he plays at a micro level is phenomenal.
Oh my god. Yeah, his ability to make these little micro jukes, like to expect the skill shot in a certain area and then juke just far enough away to dodge the skill shot, but not too far as to waste time or efficiency. Like, he dodged pretty much every skill shot Matt threw at him. He then shifted into him. He then flashed out predictably from the Bard ultimate and then still finished off the kill. Like, it was just so many levels of outplay there.
And on Azir, that is like of paramount importance. You have to control your champion and your soldiers, buffer inputs constantly so that you're not losing DPS. Like, fancy footwork is difficult on, like, LeBlanc, a champion that's, like, relatively straightforward, that Jensen obviously can play well as well. On Azir is highly impressive, and it's funny, as soon as you mentioned it in Game 1, I just couldn't unsee all of the sick plays that Jensen was making. Like, even in that last 1v1, he, like, dodged riposte stun with just a little bit of movement.
And we're going to get to see this in slow motion this time, exactly the timing of Lorlo getting knocked up in the air before he finishes off Sneaky. So the unburrow hits right as the flash happens, and then, like, notice the spot where he was up in the air. So technically he might be able to move a little bit in the air right now, and he drops down in essentially what looked like a different place. So it looks like when Lorlo was up in the sky, he may have had a little bit of control of his character. He just wasn't visible to Cloud9.
So, I mean, he's probably there sitting there buffering inputs. Like, he would
able
be doing
to take damage.
Grass procced, by the way, I noticed that.
And technically, if Sneaky had, like, locked on and kept right-clicking, based on my knowledge, Lorlo would have continued to take damage. It's just you can't reacquire someone when he's up in the sky like that. So this play is obviously under review because it's incredibly pivotal in the outcome. Like, this is... There's a lot of options on the table that could be considered to play on. They consider it's not game-changing enough. They could also offer Cloud9 a remake, in which case, I think if you're Cloud9 and you're offered a remake, you definitely take it. They're at a 5,000 gold disadvantage, but technically that bug probably cost Sneaky his life. But that is all under the judgment of the referee team right now, and I wouldn't want to be them. This is a really difficult situation to be in.
It's certainly tough, but just to sort of recap where we are, the game is paused. As you can see, the players are allowed to talk now, so Sneaky isn't doing anything silly. They're allowed to talk between each other now, talk about the match, maybe what will happen in various situations, talk about the game at hand.
The longer pauses allow teams to talk a little bit, because sometimes you might go a little crazy, asked to sit here in silence with white noise blaring in your ears for 10 plus minutes, so they can definitely discuss what's going on, maybe even themselves speculate on what's happening. But I think the important thing for these guys to be doing right now is really just kind of figure out where they go next, because they can't expect a result to come happen. And if they do remake the game, they will be given time to re-prep the picks and bans. Since we're past game of record, if they did a remake, it would be completely new picks and bans, basically a completely new game.
Yeah, and as you can see, players under review by the referees, so we don't have a time frame yet on how long that will take, but we'll give that team as much time as necessary to sort this out. Because like you said, this is a very complicated situation. Funny, when we saw it, everyone had a giggle. I was like, actually, very serious matter. But the players, they'll talk to each other. Team Liquid have to be feeling good. Dardok's face has been lit up in the player cams most of this game, because he's having a great time.
Yeah, I mean...
Killing people on Gragas, going crazy, making Dardok plays.
Yeah, to recap what's happened, even in this series or in this game, like, Team Liquid had a very slow Game 1 where they just got slowly out-macroed by Cloud9. But in Game 2, they came out firing. Like, they were crushing C9, especially from the moment of the Dragon fight where Dardok was able to catch out Jensen. For about the next 5 minutes of the game, it was just play after play. Whether Dardok was initiating, Lorlo was making solo outplays, Matt was landing great ultimates, Phoenix was nearly 1v1ing people, Fabi was landing all his skill shots. Like, literally, the team was just firing on all cylinders, and it looked like Cloud9 was a little bit tilted, which puts this pause at such an interesting inflection point, because it had just been when Cloud9 made a massive outplay, and then another big play to potentially kill both of the solo laners.
And let's talk still about Dardok, but about the jungle pick that you mentioned in the drafts of Game 2. You said it's a bit unusual. Yes, some players have played it. Centauran instantly comes to mind from NRG as a player that has been really heralding that champion still in this split. We wondered, like, Dardok, this is not a champion that you play that often. Doesn't feel like something that you really want to play. We saw the Lee Sin, we're like, okay, probably wants to be a bit more aggressive, which we did expect in this game, but has certainly shown up on Gragas in the early game. And this is a player that you need to give power to in this team. And Dardok's like, give me the Gragas, I'll carry. Very different from the Rek'Sai game he's just had.
Yeah, and this is their 9th match, the 19th or 20th game Team Liquid's played this season, and it's the first Gragas game, right? And what do you find so interesting about this is that no junglers were banned or picked at this point. So he could have easily gone Kindred, Graves, Rek'Sai, Olaf, which he's played so much of, but he really just wants the highest amount of playmaking potential, And yeah, Gragas is a champion that sees some play, but by no means is he considered an S-tier pick. Yeah. Although Dardoch is really making everything work for him this game.
I think for me, some of this comes from the early Azir pick from Jensen, which everyone knew was coming, right? I think Gragas, especially with backup in Jhin and Bard, actually can do pretty well into Azir, because the plan was kind of there in game 1. Kill Jensen, keep the man down, but his Victor kind of took over the mid to late game, even though Impact had the biggest effect on that game. Azir is definitely a champion that can be vulnerable to ganks, and as good as Jensen is at getting out of bad situations, you can't work miracles all the time, right? Yeah. Eventually you're going to die to the huge amounts of CC getting thrown at your face. I think CL almost just played to usurp Azir in the mid lane, and so far so good.
He's been keeping a high amount of pressure on Jensen, which has allowed Phoenix to have a lot of side lane pressure in this game. But yeah, you can definitely tell these guys are really just wondering what's going to happen with this play in review, because some of the series does hang a little bit in the balance right now.
Yeah, certainly does. And I think other questions about Fabi and his Jing, which is also another new pick for Liquid. I never doubted Fabi. He's shown the utility carries already. He's shown how pinpoint he is on that Ashe. His Jhin looks amazing in the early stages. And I think if Matt's a big Bard player, this is the combination that Liquid can start to maybe lean on more and more, because we've seen Jhin Bard do silly things every time the duo is picked. Fabi and Matt are just making a showcase at this point.
Yeah, and I do definitely like his performance on Jhin so far, when previously he pretty much had only played the Ashe and the Sivir, but with the early kills he was able to get early on in this game, definitely started them off in a pretty favorable position.
Yep, and again, still waiting on things. Don't have a time frame just yet, but shouldn't be too much longer before we have a decision. Welcome back. Hi guys, nice to see you again. Great series so far, I have to say. These two teams have just shown so much in both these games. I think Liquid answered a lot of our questions, no matter what happens in this next few minutes.
Yeah, I also hear that they're going to continue the review. Potentially, we're going to be going to the analyst desk shortly, but for now, we're going to continue seeing this. Oh, well, no, I see some copy. I'm going to start reading it. This is an update. Due to the bug, C9 has been offered a remake, and they have accepted. So while we get that locked down, big decision right there, obviously. I think it was obviously, in my opinion, it was the right call. That was a clear bug that resulted in his death, and it's really unfortunate for Team Liquid, in my opinion. But while they set up the next game, since it's going to be completely new picks and bans, we're going to go back to the analyst desk for some discussion on the series so far.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That is right. We do have a remake. Things happen. Oh, well. As Jat mentioned, this is somewhat unfortunate for Team Liquid, as in contrast to Game 1, they were very much in control of Game 2. So for them, one, they're going to be fighting the mental battle of, okay, we can't let that affect us. We have to know that, well, we could establish the lead once, we can do it again. They just have to do it from scratch.
Right. I mean, it's the weird thing, right? It's like, hey, we're playing best of threes. They would have had to do it again anyway. So now it's like, can you 3-0 C9 roughly? Because this game was, I would say, about an 80% win.
Yeah.
Right? Very, very high odds that Liquid would have won this game. If it's not 100%, I mean, refs have to say remake. You can't just like, well, if you roll the dice and it wasn't going to be a 6, it was fine. So... But yes, unfortunate for Liquid, really unfortunate. We'll see how the rest of the games go. Remade Game 2, Game 3, if it happens to that. But yeah, talking about this game overall, though, I think is actually really interesting. A lot has happened that I found really compelling. First thing that stood out to me was how much Liquid cares about Sivir.
Yes.
In Game 1, they first rounded at Red Side. Game 2, they banned it, even though they had first pick. They don't want to give that option over to Cloud9. Of course, they just grab Ashe for themselves, so they're staying on the utility champions, but that's sort of Liquid really trying to target some things.
Right, but
and
again,
not give Sivir over.
Liquid putting Lorlo on Trundle this time around.
Yeah, that's the bigger one.
And then Cloud9 picking themselves, Lissandra into that. So we've got a little case of Impact picking a losing lane matchup.
So it's interesting. It's not a bad lane matchup, depending on when you stop defining lane.
True.
Pre-7, maybe, it's
Lissandra
like, it's Lissandra favorite, right?
Yeah.
They both recalled the first time at 6 minutes in. 37 to 48 or 27 to 38. Minus 11 at 6 minutes on their first recall was the CS difference right there. Lorlo heavily behind, getting pushed around. But they have a nice team fight in the bot lane. Lorlo picks up a couple of assists. He comes up in the lane with Spectre's Cowl, and now the gold is roughly tied.
Yep.
And now he's actually he's treading water against him now. And then he gets another item, and then he kills him under his own turret.
Right.
It's like, well... That is how that matchup works.
That was around the level 10. So it did show that, there is a very certain cutoff when Trundle starts beating Lissandra. So it's just kind of an interesting thing, again, when we look at Team Liquid, and past iterations of Team Liquid weren't necessarily, we're going to carry from the top lane, especially with Lorlo on the team, always having been that more tanky player, and Piglet being the focus, it's very interesting to watch this team evolve and change and look for other ways to carry, since Fabi is going to sit on the more utility-based champions, Ashe and Sivir. Although he did play Jhin this game.
Yeah, and I actually do like that look. Honestly, I like him on champions like Ashe and Jhin, and if bot lane Varus were... I think it's actually an okay champion. Maybe it's not great and competitive, but like that's another champion I would like to see Fabi on.
Okay.
Something where it's like easy to participate, and you get to be a sort of a playmaker for the team. Because, okay, Dardoch's going to go ham, and he's going to be a damage champion more than half the time. Okay, this time he's Gragas, that's fine. Phoenix, I think, is best suited on a carry-type champion. And Lolo, honestly, his better champion pool is carry-type champions, right? He's like famously 3-75 on Maokai. That's not the number, but like Reddit loves tracking Lorlo's win rate on tanks, and it's not a good win rate, right? So, and I think that's fine to play that way. If he's getting outskilled like he was in game 1, that's a problem.
Right.
But if he's not, and he's able to hold his own, and given the things he's good at, Fabi clearly has pretty damn good skill shot accuracy at very long ranges. Matt's amazing at Bard. Like, this formula is great. And, okay, Jhin is not like the #1 meta AD carry, but that's okay. If this style works for you and they're good enough to play, then by all means play that way Liquid, and that's fine. And I think that's what I think where most teams should play is move around a little bit within the box of what's actually strong, but choose your parts of it and say this is our style.
The next thing I want to look at is the gold lead that Team Liquid was able to develop here, because we have to remember around 20 minutes in when this game was paused, they were sitting at a 5K gold lead. Now, if the bug had not have occurred, maybe they're only at about
4K,
a 4K gold lead because the turret goes down, blah, blah, whatever. 4K even is a sizable gold lead at 20 minutes. And I want to look at how they kind of cultivated this, because after that initial trade in the bot lane with the TPs, gold was still relatively even.
CNM was actually ahead because they're winning the lanes. Bot lane was ahead, Ashe was up on Jhin, and again, this Lysandre being plus 11 meant even 2 assists on Trundle, he was still behind.
Exactly. So 12 minutes into the game is where we first see any kind of movement towards a Team Liquid advantage. And this is off of Cloud9 choosing to start a Dragon in Vision.
And most importantly, so Jensen gets picked off, and we've seen this play come out. What I want to point out actually is Meteos and Sneaky both are sitting at about 1,300 gold. That they didn't really premeditate this play very well, and you have to imagine that these champions had more stats under them. They could have maybe fought back a little bit better. Ultimately, the fight was kind of won by the fact that Dardoch, look, he got a really great body slam flash and an ult on Jensen. And in a lot of ways, no matter what your gold is, that will just lose you the team fight when Azir doesn't predict the flash properly. And Jensen's good at juking, but he had to predict the flash. And he probably should have, to be completely honest. Dardoch outplayed him. Big mistake by Jensen, but that happens. But again, the point is, like, Meteos had his ultimate available on Rek'Sai, and there was a tunnel right by a dragon pit, and he had 1,400 gold. And the thing is, he was already told, hey, we're going to do dragon. He pathed down to that side of the map. They're like, hey, Liquid's bot lane recalled. We're going to shove in and go take this Mountain Drake. And at no point did Dardoch say, I wonder if I should spend 1,200 gold for this team fight, right? Like, that never crossed his mind. And so he just sits there.
Meteos. You said Dardoch, but that's totally okay.
Thank you. Yes, Meteos just never, like, decided to press B, then press R and show back up with, you know, some more swag in his pants. And that was my colloquialism for buying items.
That's all 6 items in my pants.
And so that was a part of it. This kind of play is honestly pretty risky. There's actually a lot that goes into it if I want to keep deep diving on Drakes, because this play is not necessarily bad. It's, hey, they recalled, so they have better items than us. We've stayed on the map. We're going to shove and make a Drake play. Okay, that's fine. It's risky, but it's fine. The funny thing is, Mountain Drake is the tankiest of all Drakes. It dies the slowest of all of the 4 options. And so then you go for this play where you're really tight on the timing. You know they're walking back. And I don't think any pro player should be able to time Fabi's recall when he's showing back up in a lane, etc. Well, they're too slow to kill it. Maybe it still wouldn't have that if it were like an Ocean or a Cloud Drake, but that's still a factor, right? It's like 25% tankier. And there's some individual misplays, maybe some misreading the map a little bit incorrectly, and it all comes down to a fight where they have equal gold, where they get outpositioned, and every single member, all 5, had more gold in their pockets waiting to spend. Like, their credit cards are sitting there waiting to get swiped at the shop, and the goblin's like ready to give him an Infinity Edge, and no one's spending that money. And so they're actually down like 4,000 or 5,000 gold. Even if Justin didn't get picked off, they probably still lose that fight.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting case study because we see so often teams able to take dragons off of backs, right?
Sure.
I mean, half the time we can see a dragon taken because we just know based on blue timers that the blue's being
he's over there, Jungle's over there.
So we can go take it. Even if they have vision, we know that they can't respond, blah, 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 this, that, the thing. Now, the case here, though, is Cloud9 did not have the vision to know where Dardoch was in his own red side jungle.
Sure.
So
they're
they
guessing
were
on the rest of it.
They're best guessing on where Dardoch's location is. They were aware of the bot lane back, so that's their impetus. That's their kind of catalyst for saying, well, we should have the time to take the dragon.
Should be enough time. Hope so.
Right? So there's many factors that go into it, but I think it's a very curious stab at a very, in my opinion, small advantage at that stage in the game by Cloud9 for what the risk was.
Sure.
And the risk, as we saw,
12 minutes
was
in, Mountain Drake is not exactly great.
Right, and that was a couple K swing now into Team Liquid's favor. So, it was a great response by Team Liquid, and it was a poor decision by Cloud9 in the early game. Now, of course, given the remake, they're forgiven for that mistake.
Yeah.
Will they have learned from that? One. Two is I now want to dive into this remade second game and how we might see this one playing out. Because it is allowed to have new picks and bans, I immediately expect to see a different top lane matchup of all things.
Yeah, I don't imagine you want to give him the matchup. But the funny thing is, like, Trundle seems to be the king of top lane right now. He is actually the most contested top laner in professional play in Summer Split 2016. Things come and go. Swain existed, Vladimir existed. Those tend to go mid lane more often. And Trundle is the premier top laner, pick rate wise, ban rate wise, etc. That's popularity. He's the one. And as I think about it, there's not a lot of great Trundle matchups. No. Like, you got, actually, I guess we're on 6-12. 6-13, if I'm remembering the patches right.
We're on 6-12. We are
right. So 6-13, he's actually been nerfed now. But, 6-12, etc. The whole Summer Split, right? He's been the guy. And yeah, there aren't a bunch of amazing matchups. Lissandra, though, is coming in expecting to eventually get outscaled and hope he can make the TP plays, which feels a bit like the Shen Fiora one, except that, I don't know, I feel like Shen had an advantage for longer and we saw Impact outplay it. I think it's greedy to go for that matchup again to say, we're just going to out-TP those guys. And again, that's a style you can choose to make, but you saw it, get backfired.
As we see on your screens now, Lorlo was on the screen. This is Matt here. The rest of Team Liquid getting ready for this remade game. Fabi, though, still absent from his seat. So waiting on, there he is.
I see an elbow.
Boom, he sat back down. So hopefully we'll be getting into game soon.
Yeah.
Of course, the players, this is a fair amount of time. They did invest a fair amount of time and energy into game 2. This is already after the first game being played. So in what already are very long series in best of 3s and do definitely take a certain amount of endurance, these players are being tested here both mentally and physically in terms of, can they recover in that short amount of time, reset their brains, and come into game 2, the remade game 2 fresh?
I think they're okay. Like, from what I saw from the player cams, it could be gave Liquid ability to talk, so they're chatting back and forth. I saw Dardoch, talking smack with his teammates. I'm sure he was smack talking Lorlo more often than not. So, in my mind, they're mentally okay. It's like Liquid, and the best thing is, it's best of 3. They would have had to play another game anyway, so I think, yes, again, still sucks. You were probably going to win that game, but you commit it and you win the game.
Yeah, you built a 4K lead once. You can do it again. The remake is dialed in. Teams are ready to head back into Champ Select. So let's kick it over to Pastry and Jaff for the call.
Thank you very much. And let's have another Champ Select here. As I've said, unfortunate situation certainly for Liquid, but this is a great test for this team. These players, their metal, their infrastructure, their coaching staff, it's all going to be tested here because every time this happens, that's pretty much what you start to look at.
It is a big psychological challenge for Team Liquid, obviously, because they have more than plenty of reasons to be very upset over this remake. They had a very large advantage before the bug happened. They had no control over the bug, and then they're getting remade. So they essentially have to try and get this advantage again. But you can't think about the past when you're trying to move towards the future in a positive way. So Team Liquid needs to continue and build upon the things that were successful in the last game, utilize their blue side advantage, recognize the things that worked in this remade game against Cloud9, and try and do it again. It will absolutely test their mental fortitude to see if they are able to come back strong in this game.
Yep, Coach is back on stage as well, but the bans so far actually look, I think, identical. There's a change though. CNA will actually ban the Azir away and ban the Rise. So they've actually pivoted a little bit here, which makes sense.
Yeah, so they dropped the Braum ban and the Karma ban.
Yep, and with the Braum ban on the other side, I guess this was made up for by TL, but definitely Trundle still left open. That's maybe the obvious pick for Lolo. It was banned in game 1, was not banned in that second game, and not going to be banned here either in official game 2, I guess we'll call it. Lolo is going to get that Trundle for himself, but Sheng was banned as well, so Impact maybe feels comfortable in that matchup.
Yeah, and I think Trundle is someone who can also beat Shen fairly easily in this matchup, and it's going to be one of those things where super late game, Trundle will be able to ult Shen and just become an absolute monster, which wouldn't have been a potential thing to do against Lissandra if this Shen does end up being locked in. But once again, Cloud9, with a lot of options on what they want to pick, wouldn't be super surprised to see a Victor relatively early in this to make sure they have some damage, but they have all the options available to them.
Well, we'll see what CNA want to do here. On the same side, of course, that they were, but maybe going to change things up here and pick some bans. Already had some adjustments in the draft, so I mentioned that the coaching staff is of critical importance in this situation because they have to refresh again on what do we do after we have a bit more information, and it's Bard and Ashe actually. It's a bit of the adjustment, so steal that one away from Matt. I would too. in the Bard he's shown us already today.
Yeah, his Bard has been super on point, and I think it's important to deny someone a champion as skill-intensive as Bard when someone's really in the zone. And that's what Matt was in the last game, landing all of his skill shots. Also, since the Ashe isn't... they just want to take the Ashe away from Fabi, keep the arrows out of his hands. And this will also change the matchup where Fabi was able to get ahead on Jhin because the Bard is not there to support him.
Well, we'll see if TL look for some similar stuff there. Maybe Fabi still feels confident in the Jhin, but they will need to adjust support, of course. You can see Fabi there talking to Coach Loco, excuse me. His Team Liquid gonna flash a few pretty ones. They've played both of these champions before, Lucky and Karma, and then the Jhin.
Yeah,
no Rengar this time.
They actually did a Zillion Rengar
Yeah.
once, and he was just trying
That
to
was fun.
zoom in. They could still do that, actually, if they wanted to move this Karma down to the bottom lane. But even though Karma saw a ton of support play early on, last week we saw a ton of mid play from it as well. So absolutely flexible right now, and Cloud9's going to have to... They can avoid committing to the mid lane matchup until they know exactly what's happening, so expect a jungler and top lane pick from Cloud9 right here.
Yeah, there's no big obvious mid lane champion that Jensen wants to take here, so I think they will delay that pick for the red side counter. What do they take, though? Of course, Rek'Sai has the obvious opening here for Meteos. He's played it almost every game he's got an opportunity to. Does have that available to him once again. But Dardoch also holding onto that pick and did great on the Gragas. Maybe they feel like we kind of have to take this away. Maybe again they'll give Meteos potential jungle pick away here. But there's the Graves and there's the Shen.
Yeah, so the Graves worked very well with the Ashe as far as a follow-up on initiation. Also worked very well with the Shen in the first game because Meteos could put himself in dangerous situations and then just have the backup of a Shen shield coming in on the backside. So I like both of those picks for Cloud9. And this is super critical. The perfect roundup for that composition is Victor, but because they wanted to be able to counterpick the mid lane, they don't get to play Victor.
Yep, and there's Victor over plus Rek'Sai there for Team Liquid. So a good little steal there for Phoenix. That will push Karma down to that bottom lane and give it over to Matt, but he's just fine there on that champion as well. Curious to see Dardoch go back to the game 1 matchup as far as junglers go, though. Decides to take Rek'Sai and didn't take it away this time. Meteos got the counter pick in game 1.
Right.
This time Meteos flashed in the grave, actually doesn't take the Rek'Sai, which is a bit unusual.
Yep.
And Dardoch says, I'm still confident in this matchup.
Exactly. I don't think there's anything that particularly says the Graves is better than Rek'Sai. I think Rek'Sai is actually favored in that matchup. But here I feel like Team Liquid's biggest difference is from game 1 when they played the Rek'Sai is their team fighting is just really good this game. Tons of AoE, great late game scaling, good move speed augmentation from the Karma. And C9 is going to be trying to make a lot of map plays with Shen, TF, Ashe, Bard. That is a split push team.
This is a bit of a different look, but certainly a strong one here. Jensen hasn't played the TF too often, but certainly a strong pick for him here. You split most of your mid lanes, and you already said it. Global pressure is the name of the game here for C9. It's like, you know what? We kind of like it better when you played you around the map. Let's not 5v5 you this time around. Given the comp they've already shown them, I don't blame them.
Yeah, exactly. The playmaking from Team Liquid is a fair bit lower than it was last game. They can still kind of catch people out with some Jhin shots, but they have no Bard ultimates. They have no Gragas for really flashy engages. And it's really going to be on Cloud9 to set up the waves so they can get Twisted Fate or Ashe arrows or Shen to come and make plays. Like, that is pretty much your almost dream team as far as having global pressure if you're looking at what Cloud9 has.
Well, C9, they've shown again that the shot calling and the macro level in their game continues to rise despite the presence and strength they have in all their lanes. Can they get it done here with the Twisted Fate comp, or a Liquid gonna come out guns blazing once again and try and take over this second game? I guess we'll have to find out soon, but exciting to see. We very rarely get to see this many games in a best of 3, Jat, but we're gonna get a bonus game this time around. That's how we'll treat it.
Longest best of 3. We'll see whether or not these teams enjoy it.
Incorrect.
That'll be tricky. What's this?
There was you actually experienced the longest best of 3 ever, I believe.
I did. Team WE versus COGEU. Spanned over 4 days. It actually got pushed back into an extra day back in Season 2. Group stage? Or no, it's quarterfinals. Semifinal? Quarterfinals, I think.
Just want to tell you,
Quarters.
you jinxed it.
Yeah? I jinxed it? This is going to be longer?
I hope not.
Nah, we'll be fine.
But,
Guaranteed pastry, no more remakes. My seal of approval.
all right, well.
I love jinxing things. It's my favorite thing.
Well, you've done a great job of it so far.
I'm not a superstitious person, so I'm all about just jinxing things.
Makes sense. Is he going to move out onto Summoner's Rift for the 3rd time, but effectively game 2 once again. C9 still up 1-0 in the best of 3. That's the most important thing to remember. Team Liquid looking to force a 3rd game here. Things have changed since the first few games we've played already. We'll see what happens here. If C9 have adjustments to be made here. Right now, grouping up as 5, going to invade into TL's blue side of the jungle, but Lolo spots him out. Doesn't lose his Trinket Ward. Holds on to it this time. Sneaky does not get the bonus CS he got last time.
Yeah, and a full invade for Cloud9. Maybe, normally you'd think you invade if you're looking to lane swap. Technically, Cloud9 wouldn't be against lane swapping this, not because of the dual lane matchup, but because of Shen versus Trundle. Freak was talking about a little bit on the analyst desk. Trundle, just the king of top lane matchups, especially against Shen. Like, Shen cannot go toe-to-toe with Trundle super early on. Yes, he can put up that block shield, but then he's not doing much damage to Trundle during it, and then Trundle will continue to sustain damage.
I like this from Lolo, though. Clearly knows where the wards are, because he's hugging that right-hand side of the lane. Dodges all of the wards that C9 put down, but unfortunately for him, if he did want to look for that 1v1 matchup, he's going to miss it, because C9 have already put their dual lane top. You can see the lane swap now in effect. So Cloud9 wanted it, which it looks like they did. They have gotten it this time around as a...
Whoa, that's early gank.
Jensen's like, yep, probably have to get out of this one. Not enough skill slots to dodge. Gets the gold card down. Actually, it's Lolo into the turret and doesn't burn a flush. Are you kidding me?
I'm so impressed by his summoner spell discipline right there. Matt missed the mantra Q, which gave Jensen the window to be able to walk away. And what is that? A somewhat heavy investment. It's early game. They're just losing a bit of tempo on the bottom lane gank. Jensen actually just uses his potions and he stays in lane. He doesn't even want to use his teleport yet.
Feels pretty healthy, but definitely strong play once again by Jensen, who seems to be almost invisible to the ganks of Team Liquid. Let's see what happens here in the jungle matchup, as again, we should expect a bit more farming in this particular jungle situation. Team Liquid, though, no stranger to the lane swap. Both teams actually played the lane swap really well in the first game. I imagine they'll have it just as clean here in this one.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the cost of that gank in the mid lane was. The one way you can potentially be punished for sending those guys mid lane super early in the game is falling heavily behind in tempo on when the first turret dies. Because then you get into a trading situation where one team can get a second turret and you can't get your first turret. But looking at the turrets right now, it's very close. Team Liquid's still getting that bottom turret down. Meanwhile, they've just been able to burn all of Jensen's health potions for free. So strategically, very successful for Team Liquid, even if they didn't burn flash from Jensen. And now they might get that flash.
Can he magic his way out of this one? Gold card again, cleanse out from Phoenix. That'll force the flash, but
they're
Dardo's
gonna
going to chase. They're going to keep looking for a Phoenix lands the Q, and that's first blood to Team Liquid.
Beautiful timing there by Team Liquid, and we spoke about the mental fortitude of being able to come back after remake. Meteo's trying to get Dardoch, though. Nice knock-up.
Yep, Umbara's there, but Meteos with the red buff. Phoenix runs interference, and Dardoch slithers away to safety, as that's the TP down for Jensen in mid lane as well.
Yeah, C9 doesn't back away from their aggression, or TL doesn't back away from their aggression from Game 2 in the slightest in Game 2, number 2.
Yep.
And getting the first blood onto Phoenix is really massive because he needs to be able to shove Jensen in so that Jensen can't get Twisted Fate rooms off.
Well, Jensen still holding control of the lane, but Phoenix farming up very nicely here, up in CS by a bit. And Jensen pre-6 isn't going to do too much other than farm the wave out. Dardoch, though, taking that red buff. He's a little low. Meteos has spotted him! Flashes over it! And now looks for Dardoch. Doesn't quite get it, though. And Dardoch, how did you get out of that?
Woo! It's because of the percentage heal when you smite red buff. He hadn't smited it, and he actually had smite up right there, whereas when Meteos warded, he saw he was super low, maybe thought he'd already smited it, and that was almost a perfect counter jungling in a very greedy path by Dardoch, but he gets the red, he gets out, he trades flashes, all good for Dardoch.
Nice ward there for C9, but play doesn't quite convert there for Meteos, as that was a hyper-aggressive play to try and make an advantage. Doesn't happen, though. And we'll continue back farming here in this mid lane. Jensen definitely playing a little further back now. Doesn't want Dardoch to come visiting in that lane again, as Favi and Sneaky have actually met up here in this lane. So a bit of a difference from the first game lane swap. No turret trades this time. We'll actually have standard lanes, but Cloud9, at least their duo right now is a turret to get back to. Is Jensen going to dodge that pillar?
No flash,
Get
but also
chopped.
a turret. That'll help.
Meteos there as well. Lolo can't quite get that one.
Yeah, Jensen is getting really punished in this lane, though. Tons of ganks his way, still without flash, only has boots and Adorns, so not able to get much done. And then to add insult to injury, Impact is freezing right now, so the ganks will continue. This is always something a team needs to make a very conscious choice when doing. If you're going to freeze, the rest of your map can get put under immense pressure, and especially in League of Legends today, teams are so good at either breaking freezes or killing the rest of the map while it's happening. So right now, with Jensen having no pressure in mid lane and no wards in the side for Impact's jungle, that freeze can get very quickly broken if Dardoch Lorlo just go for him right now.
And they're actually looking to do that now. Lola going to try and push things in. Impact puts up the Spirit's Refuge, but doesn't block off quite enough. You can see the taunt there is good onto Lola, but the damage has already been done here. Lola still holding his ground despite the winning trade there for Impact. Dardoch's in his back pocket, so doesn't have to worry too much, but he wants mid lane or Meteos.
Oh man, if he had been a little bit more patient there, he was waiting. This was actually C9 being rewarded because they were behind on the play. Typically, when he's freezing a wave and a large wave is going to crash into the turret of an underlevel top laner, you need your own jungler to lend support there. So Dardoch, expecting that, was waiting in the jungle. But when he realized Meteos wasn't coming, he thought maybe he has no idea that this is happening and he's just not there. As soon as he goes to leave, Meteos is actually on his way, but he was late. But because of that timing, C9 gets away with it. Impact gets to continue farming minions, and Dardoch ends up wasting time.
Yeah, Dardoch actually a little impatient again. Does not commit to the dive because Jensen is playing ultra safe with no summoners up right now. Does hit level 6, but has to kind of make space in the lane in order to roam it out. Impact with that freeze. I think still going in that bottom side. Might be a decent target for it, but right now Jensen being held down again. Team Liquid's plan from the remake game does seem to be holding true so far. As Dardoch's at it again.
Yeah, he sweeps as well to make sure he's not spotted, but everything's gone in the jungle. Like, he's not going to full duel a Graves with 2 longswords while he's sitting on a Sightstone. He would definitely need help, but he did spot Meteos, so now they can try and prep a gank. Yeah, Meteos, you'll have nowhere to run, bud.
Caught out of position. There's the knockup coming in. Death Ray's good, but Jen's going to try and snare something up. The Cosmic Binding does not land. But Meteos does survive.
Just barely right there. I don't believe Phoenix was level 6 at the very start of that. Otherwise, he would have pressed his ultimate, or he was low on mana. One of the two things, because it looked like they completely had caught Meteos there. But again, Team Liquid unable to reap the rewards of what was a pretty significant information advantage.
Well, it's unfortunate for them. Their aggression has been stifled a bit here in the first 8 minutes. Meteos clearing things out. Warriors on the way. I imagine he'll be going a similar build to his first one in game 1. Actually built Black Cleaver as his first major item after the jungle enchant. So curious to see if he goes down that path again. Sneaky and Smoothie though, just farming up a storm. Level 6 unfortunately available on that play, but again, everyone's just chilling out.
Yeah, and Team Liquid's window for aggressive plays is narrowing a lot when C9 hits level 6 on TF and level 6 on Shen, which they've done. And TL only got 1 kill in the pre-level 6 phase, but now C9 has their map impacting ultimates. So look for them to try and make a move here, as Team Liquid just barely missed out on a lot of those early game conversions.
Yep. Could be interesting to see though if maybe TL feel a bit better in their scaling this time. They do have the Trundle into that Shen. We saw it with the Fiora where Lola wasn't able to get going. This time around, things are looking just fine for the early game, so maybe TL do feel a bit more confident with this composition, actually taking the game a little bit later. We'll have to see though, as Phoenix does get himself the blue buff. Going to return to mid lane, but Jensen looks like he's going for that Rod of Ages with the early Catalyst plus the cooldown boots already built up. Yep. But again, he's just trying not to die right now.
Mostly, and Rod of Ages is a very good way of doing that. It's also a good scaling item for Twisted Fate, whereas especially with the pressure Team Liquid is putting on them early, C9 going to be fairly content with just trying to scale while they look to create numbers advantages. And that is one thing with C9's team comp right now. Because of all of the globals, it doesn't necessarily matter if they all build super strong selfish items, since all of their kills are going to be because they have vast numbers advantages anyway. Since so many of their champion kits are built in towards globals, if they're in an even-numbered fight, they're probably going to lose it. Therefore, the items don't actually have as much of a say at this early point in the game.
Well, again, if the map opens up a bit more, we did have a slight twist on the usual lane swap. Map opening up a little bit more now, though, actually, as we're just kind of delaying these tower trades. Meteor, Smoothie, and Sneaky all teamed up here. Knocking that bottom outer turret awfully low, but
yeah,
don't take it just yet.
Got a lot of damage, and they actually proc Rangers focus on Ashe to try and get more. This will open them up for maybe a play by Dardoch, but the rest of his team's just not there yet.
Yep, binding up from Smoothie. Snare does land.
Go, maybe?
Smoothie bounce. No, Dardoch flashes in for it. But the Shen Stand United's going to follow in. Now he's out of range, but Jensen's going to come down as well. Nolo now snared up. They caught him on the back end, trying to move in for it. Sneaky takes him out. The Victor ulti's out, though, trying to chunk out Meteos, but Matt's going to be forced to flash out from under that stun. Fabi trying to kite away. Impact tanking up the front side there as well on the top half. Impact forced to flash. Medical journey out to safety. Impact takes it. Everybody's out the tunnel. And C9 get away with it.
Oh my goodness. In that fight, Lorlo thought he was something that he was not. And that thing is a tank. He's built only offensive items, so you cannot flank on that champion this early in the game unless he has tankiness. The plan for Team Liquid was to teleport in, with or just run in with Lorlo and Phoenix and get the flank off, but he was too squishy. C9 could very easily just turn and fight him because that was a play that could have actually worked out for Team Liquid had they spaced a little bit better on their initiation. Notice how Sneaky was down some damage by proccing Ranger focused, and then Dardoch was super clutch on this interrupted smoothie while going through the magical journey, but the shot from Fabi was not on the same page, so it actually missed. They could have chained that fairly well. But now, Lorlo runs in while the rest of his team is still collapsing. Notice he's dead before Fabi is even there, and then Phoenix approaches afterwards. If they could have just synced their initiation, they technically had the angles to cut off Cloud9. But they did not sync. Cloud9 can burn down Lorlo very quickly, and then as TL is actually all there together, they still would have won the fight, but the magical journey comes back up, and Smoothie's able to save the whole team.
Yep, nice play there from Cloud9 as Infernal Drake did go over to TL just before the replay as well. So an effective objective trade there. Infernal Drake for Team Liquid, a tower for Cloud9 as they'll be up 2-1 up in structures. They got a kill out of the deal as well. So you talked about already that collapse from C9. Obviously amazing with Twist of Fate and Shen. As Jensen's going to get picked on again here. Phoenix still going to get it in. Good pillar. Gravity Field's going to stop him out, but he has to move forward. Great instant gold card. And Lorlo eats a huge amount of damage under the turret.
Yeah, not too many ways to avoid that gank. We know Jensen really likes to save his flash, but he had to use it right there. The pillar slowed him down. The gravity field cut off his path. And he takes just the right moment to flash away. Still heavily getting focused in that mid lane, though, and Jensen definitely hasn't been able to put a stamp on this game.
Yeah, no, not yet. Just that one Twist of Fate ultimate we saw earlier is actually down almost 20 CS in this lane. So Phoenix making a good run here with Victor early on. It's a champion we expect Phoenix to do big things on, so him being strong in the early game is excellent news for Team Liquid. Cloud9, they're looking to make another play with the Ashe Bard ultis, but spotted out by a ward. Sneaky's going to put a pink down in that brush and clear it out. As Impact is trying to do some stuff here in the top lane. Dardoch's here to join in.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if Team Liquid ult defensively or offensively right here. This one would require a defensive ult. Sneaky and Jensen could aid. Or Impact's just going to waddle away.
Yeah, Sneaky and Smoothie off to the right, I think, caused problems there. Rift Herald also very important. I saw how Sheng was able to kind of guide his way through the Fiora lane.
Yeah, and this is actually pretty risky. Rift Herald takes a long time to kill here, and it's a lot of damage, and Team Liquid have him cornered here. This is not what you want as a global team, to be caught as a group.
No, it certainly isn't. Now they're caught in the Rift Herald pit. Now Team Liquid going to try and take it out. The ulti's out from Bard. Lands onto 2, but the Rift Herald's still there. Good Cosmic Binding, though, to Dardoch. TL just need to kill it more than anything else, and they do get it.
Yeah, and the posturing by Team Liquid there, as all the shots from Fabi miss, was super aggressive because Fabi wasn't even there. So that was technically a 4v5 threatened by TL, but C9 still has to back away from it.
I love it. Team Liquid continuing the pressure here in this game number 2. Gold nice and even. Objectives looking pretty close there as well. So TL going to give Lorlo a much needed advantage with Glimpse of the Void. Curious to see if you can do some real damage in that 1v1. Even in CS for now, but Impact, this lane gets worse. Not better as time goes on.
He's going to be rushing the Hydra, and I can still understand the logic of rushing an offensive item against Shen is because in the duel you're going to steal his resistances anyway, so you're going to try and then capitalize on the amount of damage you have. But that makes your team fight collapse way weaker, as we've already seen. So look for Team Liquid to try and get the isolated situations, which is going to be really difficult against Cloud9, who's all about spreading you out and then ulting in.
And again, Cloud9 sort of defaulting back to the macro play that really got them the win there in the first game. We'll see if Team Liquid can kind of break through that. But right now, things have been a little bit quieter, which I don't think Team Liquid are too happy about. Phoenix, they're going to get himself the blue. Again, there is scaling here for TL, so they're probably a bit happier than they were before to play for the late game. I think at that point, it's just a matter of execution, because Cloud9 and TL showed that for 25 minutes in game 1, they were close.
Yeah.
But as soon as little things started to break here and there, Cloud9 just took over the game, and TL cannot let that happen here in this second one.
Yeah, and they're actually going to be in a little bit of trouble here as Meteos has dashed over the wall with a red buff. Dardoch's going to try and cut him off.
Binding doesn't find him, but here's the collapse from Twist of Fate. Meteos gets out with the ulti, but Dardoch finds a double on Burrow. Dardoch go to the target, Phoenix in, Smoothie out through the magical journey, but the shot's fired. Fabi gets a snipe on the back end, and now finds Sneaky as well. TL collapse and get a kill.
An amazing collapse right there where Cloud9 are the ones that have all the globals, Twisted Fate ultimate and Shen ultimate used, but it's actually while Meteos is making an aggressive play, the Team Liquid's able to come down, so very good awareness by them, and they might be able to take the mid-turret off that as well.
And this is a big windfall actually for TL. Starting to break open the game. Cloud9 looking to make plays, but couldn't find it there in that jungle. They are going to break this crucial turret. TF does still have wave clear, even though he's Noah Zero Victor.
Yeah.
And that's not a good turret for C9 to lose. It's now even in turrets, but TL have the map advantage especially with teleports being down, Lolo can start running amok once again here.
Yeah, I mean, to speak to your scaling point, it's not like either of these teams are slouches from a scaling perspective, but Lorlo, low on mana, they're going to go for him. Shen has teleported in behind, Smoothie trying to save.
It's quite the flank, but Sneaky's just looking to bait him in. Smoothie going to move in. Lolo just wants to kill, but he's not going to be lucky this time. Sneaky actually going to collect it.
Impact will be like, you know, I teleported in. You didn't need me, but I'll take the ward. I'm here for a
A
reason.
team player. Through and through. Hold Impact. There's Matt and Jensen.
Whoa.
Oh, Fabi again nailing with a skill shot. Matt, though, going to get stunned up, and that's all she wrote on that play. Still, again, Jensen just constantly being pressured in this game.
Yeah, the amount of focus that TL is putting towards Jensen is huge. And C9 will need to be able to take the pressure off him a little bit. It's going to be really tough, though, with Lorlo getting Glimpse of the Void from the Rift Herald and Impact being on Shen. That's not a matchup where the Shen's going to be able to get lane pressure against a Trundle, which makes it really difficult to take any pressure off the mid lane. Obviously, Sneaky's picked up a few kills, which will be nice. And really, Cloud9 will have to make the plays if they want to get Jensen farm.
Well, Dardoch actually aggressively goes in.
Misses
Not
a little bit.
sure he knew what was on the other side of that tunnel, but not connect with the Unburrow.
He doesn't care. He's going where he wants.
Certainly does it. Scuttercrab's down. Infernal Drake is up. TL maybe looking for Drake number 2. Starting to stack a huge amount of buffs, perhaps.
Yeah, double Infernal with a Victor is pretty insane as well. Cloud9 doesn't want to just straight up do a 5v5. Remember, we talked about how they have all these global initiations, but if you're able to control the map and not have any split push pressure, like Team Liquid's composition will be stronger in those 5v5s. So second Infernal Drake going down to Team Liquid, and I really have to commend them for the start of this game after the unfortunate circumstances of the remake to keep the pressure on Cloud9.
And this was the ping from Cloud9. As soon as I saw that Infernal Drake, they pinged to try and take the top tower, but Rek'Sai going to move in for it. Twisted Fate's here as well, but Matt's chasing down Meteos. Fabi opens up, finds one onto Meteos. Dardoch going to get snared, but now Meteos is sort of caught out. The magical journey takes them back though as Bard. Going to miss the ulti a little bit. Shen in onto Meteos. C9 looking for a kill, but grasping at straws, they get nothing off that play.
Yeah, a bunch of ultimates burned right there. Lorlo actually managed to interrupt Impact's ultimate on the other side to prevent him from joining the fight. But yeah, just not the cleanest engagement by Dardoch as he followed through the magical journey and then actually had to tunnel back out. He didn't have the follow-up because he cleared so much distance from the magical journey. But at the same time, they technically burned all of Cloud9's global tools and were not punished.
Well, we'll see if TL can answer back, but Cloud9 just going to back away. Impact still in that bottom half as Phoenix actually going to chase Meteos, but that'll be a quick draw out to safety. Meteos gets out of that one. Phoenix is starting to get pretty large in this game. 20 CS up. 2 upgrades with the Rylos on the way. Not going to finish the perfect hex score just yet, but the pressure never stops. Dardoch, despite having the Rek'Sai this time around, can apply map pressure. And it's going to take this away from Meteos. Meteos kind of sees what's going on, but getting chased up by Phoenix anyway. Ooh, commit. No, Jensen. Good goal card. Phoenix backs off. Despite the cleanse, Phoenix did not want to overcommit for that one.
Yeah, and this is really feeling a little bit similar to the first game we played in this series, where the golden kills were very close and very low in kills throughout most of it. And the breaking point for that game was actually Impact soloing Lorlo out a few times. What's interesting here, though, is Lorlo now has maybe a safer, favorable matchup, but the focus is really on Jensen.
Yep, gonna get knocked up again. Actually, no help needed, perhaps. Jensen gonna stun up Dardoch, but Dardoch almost souls him. Gonna flash forward for it. Red buff almost enough. Pricing gets juked out, and the death ray out with the Caretaker's speed.
Oh my god, Jensen's so close to getting soloed out, but whenever he needs to dodge a skill shot, he will dodge the skill shot. Amazing skill at the very end there to be able to dodge it, but Dardoch nearly just as impressive, like understanding his power spike on Rek'Sai right now with the Cinderhulk and a large level lead as far as the jungler is concerned, equal level to the mid laner, just be able to solo him and get the tunnel plus the red buff, but it can't quite convert the kill. That's at least the 3rd or 4th time this game where Team Liquid has been within a hair of picking up a kill.
Yep.
And this could very well be a 6 kill to 2 game with a 3,000 gold edge, but it's not. It's 500 gold.
It isn't, and Jensen works his magic again to get out of that situation. I will say that while this does feel very similar to our first game, the difference I think for me is that Team Liquid aren't just kind of letting Cloud9 dictate the pace of the game to them anymore. They're playing much more proactively. They've had, I would say, control at least of the pace for the last few minutes, but Cloud9 could be opening something up here as they do look to push mid. There is definitely push and pull here in this game, and Liquid would like a lead that they could have built here, But all things considered, Liquid, they're no longer just saying, we're not going to scale and try and fight you. We're going to constantly play up on you. And it's just showing in their movement and even plays like this.
Yeah, keep in mind he has double Infernal Drake, but he doesn't have much attack damage or ability power because he's Rek'Sai. The minions really helped him in this duel because they're all chasing Jensen throughout this. Jensen gets the gold card, Dardoch flashes, but then Jensen counter flashes, and if that Prey Seeker lands, Jensen is dead. Then the Bard heal speeds him up a little bit to help him dodge out from the laser. Such a narrow escape.
Super impressive play there from Jensen, but crisp movement, as always, gets him out from under it. Cloud9, though, still under attack, it feels like. Team Liquid constantly pushing up in these lanes, starting to maybe abuse their strength here. Victor Rylai's done. STF ulti looking for
play.
Yep, mid lane. They want Phoenix, but they're going to find actually just Dardoch. They're right in the Shen as well, but Jensen actually stunned up on the other side. Lolo wreaking havoc, and the damage is huge. Impact now going to get himself unborrowed as Team Liquid charge forward. Sneaky going to get blown to pieces by Phoenix, and Team Liquid wipe the floor with a team fight as Meteos is lucky to be alive.
I am so impressed by Team Liquid's ability to collapse despite how outmatched they are from a champion perspective in collapsing. We're talking about a Shen, TF, Ashe, Bard team, and TL is pushing them around the map. That is insane. That should not be able to happen, but Team Liquid is consistently doing it. They win that fight 4-0, and now they turn for Baron.
Yep, the reward is a big old Baron buff. Meteos is in the area. He's going to try for a steal, but I don't think he'll make it in time.
Got Flash and Smite, and Phoenix wants to assassinate him.
Death ray damage, not quite enough. Meteos hero, no, Lola goes, they stole it!
If that is the type of play that could tilt you, unreal. Instead of just killing him, they do a bunch of poke. Everyone was low and obviously afraid of Meteos, but that is a hero play if I've ever seen one.
And there's another.
Meteos dies to Smoothie. Pastry time. What is happening in this game? This was so close to Team Liquid running away with it, but now it is still a game because of that steal by Meteos.
Wind knocked straight out of the sails for Team Liquid. In fact, that snipe from Sneaky might net them a turret. Dardoch tunnels forward at them to try and protect this turret, but Jensen's got a sheen. This poke's going to be good. He throws up the gold card to zone them off, and they'll actually break the mid turret here. Cloud9 even the game right back up.
Yeah, and Drake is coming back. This could have been Infernal number 3 for them, but it's up in 20 seconds. Impact could technically teleport down. The waves aren't managed properly for Team Liquid, and Phoenix is dead. So I still actually expect Team Liquid to try and fight something here, because a third Infernal Drake might lock it up.
Well, certainly something they want, but Cloud9 know this. They're going to move straight towards the area. Timing looks favorable for Cloud9 as they collapse immediately onto the objective.
So favorable. They should be starting it right away, but they might be taking their time a little bit because they do have Impact in split push position, but this just means Team Liquid has now bought the time for Phoenix to run up there. They need to go immediately into the Drake and just do it. They have double Infernal. They've been winning the team fights. They should go.
Cloud9 waiting for ultis, but they may be caught. Jensen, Shen no coming in. Now Jensen gonna get blown up.
Whoa.
Phoenix takes him out after the flash, and Sneaky's caught now as well. Dardoch unrelenting. Flashes forward as Matt collects another.
As nice as the third Infernal Drake is, 2 kills in the mid lane is pretty darn good as well. They do have to worry, though, about the Baron buff Shen, who's on the other side of the map, taking down the turrets. They're going for that mid lane inhibitor, though. They're trying to continue to push the tempo.
Yep, race is on. Lola does not have his TP, by the way, but Meteos is unable to defend this pressure. Team Liquid, they take a hit and they just keep coming.
Yeah.
Such impressive resilience from this team.
The resiliency is really the thing, and it's still crazy that they're up against this Shen TF composition, and they're playing so well against it. They're not putting themselves in positions where they can easily be collapsed upon, and they're very willing to fight back. They build very strong dueling items and a lot of just innate resiliency in a few of them. Like the Rylai's before the triple hex cord upgrade from Phoenix is actually more critical than you think because of the extra health. The super defensive build from Dardoch, he didn't go Titanic Hydra, he went for the Randuin's Omen. And then Trundle can obviously ult the Shen, and he's building damage to be able to keep up with that. Just smart things from Team Liquid here, and they're the ones forcing the fight on the team with seemingly way more initiation.
Yeah, and game is feeling is actually surprisingly close, all things considered. TL well up in kills, but the gold lead does not necessarily reflect how far ahead TL are. Third Infernal Drake is a big lead that is not reflected in the gold, but more than anything, with the way their teams are playing, TL feel very far ahead.
Yeah, the triple Infernal Drake, that's got to feel good. 24% attack damage and ability power, and now they're going to get Mountain after that if they can pick up another Drake. But let's watch this steal. This is from a while ago, but it's really the reason this game is still happening even. Oh my god. And then Phoenix very easily finishes him off afterwards, but like, yep, that's the feel right there. Because Dardoch, as a jungler, I can respect that. Lorlo and Phoenix, he told them both, like, yo, just finish him. And he wants them to stop damage on Baron while Meteos is in threat to steal it. But I think they were so low, there's also a call that they need to finish Baron quickly so they don't die. Like, that was basically a 20-minute Baron. We're only 25 minutes into the game right now, and that happened 4 minutes ago. So, understand why it happened, but that's a tough one for TL.
Dardoch, though, shakes it off, puts hands on his head, and then immediately puts them back on his mouse and keyboard. Knows they have to keep playing, and Team Liquid have been forcing the pace of this game and really dictating in a lot of ways. Fabi's Jhin, still a silent underachiever in this one, but Cloud9 not done yet. You said it. That may be the steal that saved the game. We'll see how the next few minutes continue, because objectives are kind of off the map for this part. Phoenix busy in the top side. He's going to shove down a turret by the looks of things. Does have a Lich Bane built up, so he's awfully strong, but C9 straight down mid.
Yeah, and this is finally mid lane revenge maybe for Cloud9, because currently it's been Team Liquid just forcing down mid the entire game, but they're caught a little bit trying to push the top lane when they shouldn't have been, and C9 rotate to get a good turret.
That's with a super minion wave in there as well. TL did manage to take that after that, so Phoenix will collect the turret. It's equal now in structures, but Cloud9 definitely have to deal with the slew of minions streaming down the mid lane. Arrow hits Lolo.
Hello? Phoenix isn't here.
Taunt up there as well. Lolo actually going to get chunked out. Enough Bard ulti does miss Fabi as he gets out from under the ulti, but Impact still chasing forward. Dardoch gets snared up. Phoenix still here, but he's looking for a play.
Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid, they do triple Infernal Drake, so they're feeling really confident. They're going to go.
Oh, Smoothie snared up, and Impact has to go back in onto Phoenix, but Impact unborrowed there by the Rex side. Puts up the Spirit's Refuge and flashes out to safety. Cloud9 just need to bail, but TL don't want to let them. Phoenix flashes in and is going to get a couple flashes out of the deal. Cleanses in, Jensen again snared up, and Phoenix takes him out. But Cloud9 firing back away. Impact goes back in. Sneaky with a double kill, going to turn things around. Phoenix going to fall as well, and Cloud9 going to barely turn that around.
Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid was trying to go in with the 4v5, like a full hard engage 4v5 right there, and I think the setup for that play is just an example of how Team Liquid can't have Phoenix off on his own in a side wave, because the instant they expose one of their damage dealers and say that he can't collapse on a fight is the instant that Cloud9 can force that numbers advantage, and they do so. They get the kill early on in the fight, and then the overexposure by Team Liquid afterwards. I can understand why they wanted to stay aggressive, but it just wasn't in the cards because of a well-played fight by Cloud9. See the instant kill onto Lorlo. Team Liquid dodges out from the rest of the fight, and then they're so confident. Triple Infernal Drake, 24% more attack damage and ability power. They want to go, but Cloud9 honestly didn't burn that much in the initial fight. They still have Shen ultimate, and Sneaky has been getting a lot of farms throughout this game, so he can do a bunch of damage on the backside. Team Liquid split focus. Phoenix goes way ahead in this fight. Then the gold card hits him, then he cleanses it, but he still takes a bunch of damage as Sneaky unloads on Ashe, and then Sneaky just chains a bunch of damage. Meteos able to flash back into the backside, kill them as well, and it's essentially 4 kills for 1 for Cloud9, and that Baron steal, mighty critical to keep this game going. Old is even.
Game straight back to even footing here. Baron back up in 20 seconds. As we have a look at the damage from that last team fight, Phoenix did work, but that was a situation that TL didn't need to be in. Like you said, if he's there at the start of that fight, that grass straight through the other side into Jensen's bar.
Yeah, exactly, and Lorlo wasn't there. So even though Shen only did 663 damage, the amount of damage he could soak without suffering deaths is just through the roof. Like, if TL had that kind of tank, then Phoenix would have been able to continue to deal damage. But as we've seen, Team Liquid needs to remain resilient. They need to stop C9 from getting split push priority, and they need to be the ones to dictate to the team with Twisted Fate and Shen, and they're in position to do so with UD boards.
It's a critical moment in this game as well. Baron has just respawned. Drake, next one will be Mountain, is up in a minute 30, and all the summoners are back available. Teleports at the ready. Team Liquid going to try and retake the mid inhib that just respawned. Smoothie going to get snared up.
Yeah, I do have to point out that Sneaky is a full damaging item ahead of Fabi right now. Fabi's gone QSS, and there's already the Last Whisper upgrade right there. Lord Dominic's Regards completed for Sneaky, so he's dealing a good bit more damage than Fabi.
Well, Cloud9, we'll see if they can hold the siege. Team Liquid are just looking to take this safely, if possible. Lolo also starting pressure in the bottom lane, so Impact there to answer, but can't really stop the Trundle. Can just delay him.
Yeah. Dardoch's got to be a little bit careful not to take too much poke. They do not have Ocean Drakes after all. It's hard for them to sustain back up. Lorlo will be timing out of his Glimpse of the Void shortly. He's got about 3 to 4 minutes left on that. still very powerful. He's winning the duels against Impact for now.
And we expect that. You know, Ravenous built up. Warden's Mail and the Spirit Visage also done for Lolo, so starting to hit that big unkillable I kill you Trundle situation. And Phoenix as well. We saw it in the last fight. He has 3 damage items with half a Void stuff done as well.
Phoenix left mid lane again and walked over Ward, so C9's going to try and make the play in this mid lane if they see it.
They've got the ultis. Trigger's not pulled just yet. Smoothie looking for an opening, but Dardoch loved that play. Just playing straight up in their face saying, hey, you want to use those big ultis? Come hit me.
Yeah, Deadman's played as well, so he's really fast too, so it's actually really hard to even hit him with an ultimate.
It's back in with the team. Lolo's starting to push in top lane now. This is, as I said, a very tense moment in this game. Team's looking for an opening before they commit to the objective, but Drake is back up. TL straight to the area.
Yep, there's a ward in the back for C9. Maybe they try and collapse down on it. This would be a bit of a desperation. They could get the jump on him. Lolo still has to time the teleport to come in. Technically, Team Liquid could delay and let Trundle kill the turret, which is actually what they should go for unless Cloud9 land an initiation, because they have to back away. And now, TL should be able to get the Drake.
And that's a TP burnt. Who is it? It is Impact. They've
He
got...
can still Shen ult back in.
Yep.
Which is interesting, but C9 had to give up the position to do that. So this should be Mountain Drake going easily over. Maybe they try and threaten Baron.
Maybe. I mean, Cloud9 are over there, but TL have plenty of wards in the area. Cloud9 will just trade vision of the area more than anything else, but they've certainly given up on that Drake. That's going to be the 4th now for Team Liquid. They've had some real good Drake spawns this game. Oh, the Dragon will be the next one, of course, but 3 Infernals on a mountain. As soon as TL win a fight, it feels like the game will end on the spot.
Yeah, and they're so powerful for that fight. But they're going to try and get a pick here.
They're looking for it's actually Phoenix. He's been caught out. Meteor's able to take him down. All the globals in, and C9 with a power play.
Yeah, the longer this game goes, the more coordinated C9 seem to be getting, and the more they're capitalizing on these movements. Dardoch had just ulted back in on the top side of the map, and immediately they go for Phoenix in the mid lane. They burn both the summoners, and they get a kill. And that's a 300 CS Victor, who is the majority of Team Liquid's damage in these team fights. So that buys them more time.
Phoenix made a go of it, though. Almost killed Sneaky in the 1v5, but couldn't get it done. As Cloud9 now look to take control of the Baron area and quite possibly start it. Phoenix is dead for 20 seconds longer, and Sneaky's just made his way back in.
Yeah, and there's been recalls for Team Liquid. Jhin is a great Baron stopper. Dardoch's got to be careful not to get bursted out. Same with Lorlo.
Lolo's stunned up, though. He's getting chased out, but the ulti's out from Jhin. He's trying to delay it, but Impact's going to lock him up. Sneaky chased up, though, by Dardoch. With Cloud9 still looking to move in. The front line's there, but Dardoch has to move in. Baron's still doing DPS as well. Lolo going to get chased out, but Impact and Dardoch going to tussle as they're really trying to kill Sneaky, but Dardoch's dead. TL just don't have enough to break.
Yeah, they don't have enough to break C9, but they do have enough to stop them from doing Baron. If you're considering a total cost of stop the enemy team from getting Baron for 1 death, I think Team Liquid actually played that very well, considering how scattered they were on the approach. Dardoch did a lot of distraction. He's incredibly tanky. Lorlo got a good ultimate off of to become as tanky as possible. But now we're going to get to see the pick right here. Yeah, just he cleanses it right away, but that means he has no cleanse for the gold card. And they Shen ult as well, just in case, in my opinion, the rest of the team was there.
Sneaky, so close to not dying.
Yeah.
That was, the Aegis shield was required to not get him killed, because the last blip of the ulti would have done it. You can see how crucial Phoenix is to this team, just based on that particular play. Despite the fact that, yeah, he should not be standing there with no vision of C9 and all their globals.
Yeah, and if this gets super late, Phoenix will be building a death cap, most likely, as his final item, and that's pushing him towards absurdity. Although with no magic resist, he will still be fairly vulnerable to Jensen's one-shot as well. Like, Twisted Fate, even though he has so much mid-game pressure, this is one of the reasons he's a staple of competitive play, his late game is also insane. When you stack up a gold card with an 800 AP and a stacked deck, you can one-shot a Squishy as Twisted Fate, and the wild cards continually cut through team fights. So C9 still has a chance of winning this game if they continue to scale out and make opportunistic plays.
And again, as we push later and later, it's going to be execution that matters the most. C9 showed they could do it in the first game. Can Team Liquid demonstrate that they can actually fight C9 at these later stages of the game? The gold is still dead even between the two sides, but Team Liquid tipping the scales with those 4 Drakes. Cloud9 They have to find the right angle, because if they miss it, I think this game just ends.
Yeah, and all of C9's wins.
Sticky! Peeled up, and there's the combo win. Fabi gets the kill, but the Bard ulti might keep it alive. Tielo is charging forward as Jensen's going to try and kite it out. Dardoch straight in the other lines as Meteos pops the ulti to get out to safety. Impact just taunts himself out. Meteos is trying to get something done, but he gets shut down, and TL going to take mid and maybe more. Jensen caught up as well. Phoenix blows him up, and that could be it.
Pace your time. That was just a breakdown from Cloud9. They'd been stalling this out, finding opportunities so well, and a very telegraphed run up the mid lane with an exposed inhibitor is probably going to end the game because they get 3 kills on priority targets.
Yep, there's too much work done, and TL, with plenty of power behind them, are going to take Game 2's Nexus and force us to a final game. What an adjustment Team Liquid made in a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
Smiles all around, but one more game left to play. Can Liquid do it again?
Mental fortitude for Team Liquid. Everything stacked against them. Had a big lead before they had to remake the first Game 2, come back at it. A lot of lesser teams would just tilt right off the face of the earth. But Team Liquid definitely does not. They kept the aggression up. They stayed aggressive. Dardoch made a bunch of big plays, and amazingly, they dictated to the team with Shen, Twisted Fate, Ashe, who was just like playmaking in a nutshell. But it was Team Liquid who continued to make the plays and push us to a pivotal Game 3.
And it's rough for Cloud9 because they think, you know what, we kind of won the macro game in Game 1. Let's pick even more global pressure. And they kind of got run over in a lot of those spots. Like, yes, they thought Meteos' Baron Steel was a valiant attempt at keeping that game afloat. But at the end of the day, there was just too much there for TL. And I don't know what C9 think now, being like, we kind of got a second chance at it.
Yeah.
Now we have to play Game 3. Momentum absolutely there for Team Liquid.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that gave them that momentum was their intense focus on a Jensen in the mid lane. Like, as good as that guy is at dodging ganks, there were constantly people in his lane. And it wasn't just Dardoch giving him good pressure. It was a roam from Matt. It was a roam from Lorlo. Fabi would ult in. Like, everyone was ganging up on Jensen. You could never get the control in that game to start dictating his Twisted Fate, and that forces the Game 3.
Well, Liquid does come out on top in Game 2, so that is going to force the Game number 3. But for a review of that last game, let's go back to Dash and Freak.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Liquid fighting against the mental odds of having to have a remade Game 2. Sure. They come back and they win it again, pushing us to a Game 3. So we get to see our Game 3 between these two teams. But let's dive right into this one. Let's look at the team comms first. Once again, Trundle going into the hands of Lorlo. We do see C9 switch things up. They say we'd rather have the Shen matchup into the Trundle this time around. Yeah. And for the most part in the 1v1,
it's okay.
Dealt fine with it.
I mean, by the end, we saw that Trundle was having the push lead once again because you're just not going to really win the 1-on-1, and he's not the type of player to bring out Jax and stuff and try to, like, find a way to outstat him. So, okay, that's Impact as a player, whatever. You know, it was serviceable, it was fine, and it was something that Jack talked about during the game, though, is you're bringing in Shen, you're bringing in TF, you're bringing in Ashe, and yet it's still Liquid who are finding ways to pull the trigger much, much better than you. And some of that is Trundle is supposed to get ahead at least a little bit in that matchup. Trundle could even pillar to knock out the Stand United, which he actually did at least once in this match as well. So, but yeah, you saw Lorlo get the most popular fighter in the game and do well with it.
And I love the point there that you coupled, which is that the comp that C9 built, plenty of globals in Ashe, TF, and Shen. And with that early freeze that we saw Impact have early in the game, Liquid deciding we're going to throw all of our resources towards that mid lane. We're going to do everything in our power to keep Jensen down. And that's key, right? Now the TF does not have the ability to actually affect the side lanes and create advantages for Cloud9 that way. All that being said, Jad did mention that Jensen was playing as well as he could have with all of that. I mean, it was just an insane number of dodges. His micromanagement when it comes to dodging skill shots is absolutely insane.
I got to agree with here. So here we go, the first one. Like, that's a miss. I'm going to say that one is a miss more than anything else.
Yeah.
But, you know, walks away, lands the gold card, and all right. I'm going to blame Matt for that one. Maybe he tried to Mad Life the Flash, but...
But even still, so cool and calm under pressure. He's level 1, doesn't blow Flash, knows that he can lock the gold card, take the damage, and not die. Once again here.
All right. Reasonable size. He still gets slowed, and then that's the route. Yeah. I mean, he still gets hit, so that... I don't think he technically dodged.
He dodged.
That was Matt missing. I'm so far pegging this all on Matt being a little bit booty right now, but this one's good, right? So Dardoch gets onto him, a great knockup, chaining the slows quite nicely. Jensen, right, walks the gold card. Probably doesn't need to spam the Q, but I think he thought he was dead. And then you see left, right, left, right, left, right.
He's slowed when he does that.
Right. So he's trying to show Dardoch which way he's going, so that Dardoch will lead him. If we're going to keep playing the game of misses, Dardoch should have just aimed farther left. With that slow in that range, you can actually guarantee a hit.
Yeah.
So, But again, Jensen made him think I'm juking right, so he aims to his right and he goes, but I'm going left. And, again, he overleads him. Ideally, you line up a skill shot where like the edge of the hitbox hits the back of him, so that if he turns, you're still in the middle of the champion.
Yeah. Well, most of the time when you're within that range and somebody's slowed, you should actually just fire it straight at their model.
Well, yeah.
Because they won't be able to move enough.
That's exactly the point, right? Is even if he keeps walking, I still tag you with the back.
Either way, Jensen just plays mind games with people when it comes to dodging skill shots. So a small shout out for him, even in the loss. And now let's dive into that loss, though, because this game was very similar to game one in that we spent a large majority of the game with an even gold distribution. The only thing really separating the teams was the Dragon advantage that Team Liquid had been accumulating over time. But it definitely, unlike the remade game 2, Liquid had not built a gold advantage moving into that mid portion of the game. It
was them with nice map control. Of course, the Drakes are really big, and I'll talk about that in a second. And it's them waiting for their lane match to start working better. Phoenix with insane wave control, and they're coming into his lane a whole lot more, and Jin making some plays happen. It's and again, it's Trundle starting to win the 1-on-1 as well, where he's starting to push under the turret and make things difficult. You were seeing defensive summoner TPs out of the Shen just to hold his turret alive, things like that are happening in the late game. But then, if you're putting all of your eggs in the Victor basket, Infernal Drake is the best Drake for you, right? If you're actually scaling off of raw ability power or raw attack damage like a Jin, now that's the best Drake. Because Infernal Drake doesn't help Rek'Sai do more damage, doesn't help Karma move faster. She has like 30 ability power, then no one cares. But if it's all about Phoenix killing everything and it's all about these really high damage snipes, then yes, Infernal Drake is boosting those guys by a lot. 24% more AD when you've got 500 AD
is a lot.
Is a lot, right? And when you've got 700 ability power, it's a lot. And so that's really boosting what those guys are doing. And when you see things like Sneaky nearly get killed in a 1v5, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be honest, that's some Infernal Drake stuff right there. And that was a nice sort of alignment there for Liquid.
Well, and that's the thing. It was the fantastic control around the Dragon that definitely gave Team Liquid some allowances, as they did have a couple lost team fights, as well as some picks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's to be expected when you're playing against Ashe and TF. The picks will happen, but they were given the allowances of having gotten that 24% extra bonus AD and AP. Because then when they finally did, they would win a fight eventually.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's what was so beautiful about Liquid is like it's so easy to be strung around the map constantly by all the globals, all the engaged tools, and be like, yeah, we're going to abuse your teleport here. We're going to kill your AD carry, so Trundle show up, go down there. Well, no, because they just found ways to not have those cooldowns missed and still be in locations in time. And that's so rare. And I know the cast has talked about it, but I want to sort of underscore that as well. It is so rare to keep up in map rotations against triple global like that, and it happened. Massive props to Liquid to find the ways to go in. At a certain point, there's also some things that C9 probably missed, and I would love to go, back in the game again and see like where were the opportunities that they did have. But hey, really solid by them. Massive props.
I want to take a look at one team fight from the game. 21 minutes into the game, mid lane, Team Liquid's going to come out 4-for-0 on this one. However, lose the Baron. 2 Meteos on the back end of this. But as Jat had mentioned, with the 4-0, if they had secured the Baron here, this would have pretty much put a stamp on the game.
This gravity well is insane. It catches up Jensen. Smoothie walks in as well. And honestly, this Jensen just gets stuck in a Chaos Storm, right? They're tunneled so hard on trying to kill off this Victor, they don't actually get the damage down, and then they're locked into a Chaos Storm Death Ray combo, right? The raw ability power actually bumps his shield health as well, right? Like all these tools definitely relevant. And yeah, there's just enough protection here that they keep him alive. The CC, the shields out of mat, all that stuff. Super, super relevant. And that's the thing is this was one of the few times that C9 actually pulled the go button, but it was with all the teleports and all the roaming tools available. C9 needs to do that a second time. And then here, Meteos dodges the second half of the Death Ray. Okay, good flash by Lola, but everyone else should have stopped hitting it.
Yeah.
Of course, a 6 smite, great play by Meteos to secure that one. But that is lack of discipline by Liquid. For as many good plays they made, that was obviously a big mistake.
Right, but that's one of the examples when I talk about the allowances that they had built because of the Dragons they had secured. Sure, you lose the Baron, you lose a little bit of gold, but as soon as that Baron buff is gone, and the gold is back.
We're dead anyway.
And the gold. Well, actually, few people had been. So, like for example, Sneaky had the buff. Bunny or Smoothie had the buff. But again, they had built in these allowances because we've already got 16% damage. So sure, you get this increased AD and AP from the Baron buff itself for 4 minutes. But then as soon as that disappears, we're back in the driver's seat. We have the stat advantage again as Team Liquid. So Cloud9 only had about 4 minutes in which they could operate with some kind of advantage or with an even stat stat line.
But the whole time they're just kind of behind in this one, right? They're getting somewhat out rotated. They're losing more of their lanes overall, and massive props to Liquid for controlling it the whole time.
Player of the game going to go to Dardoch on this one. 3-1-8 on that Rex side. We talk about running the game through Victor and high damage composition. Well, the score line that Victor had was a lot to do with the impact that Dardoch had on the early game in his and putting pressure in lanes.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have great beneficiaries. Phoenix did a lot of damage. He was the recipient of a lot of these ganks. But yeah, Dardoch missing a smite or not, honestly doing quite well for himself. It's funny because in games like this, you often hand it to the jungler because they've just affected so much of the map that it was a team-wide win. It wasn't just like this guy smashed lanes so the game is over. Yeah, I like Dardoch for this.
Now, Dardoch, we know that this is a player that thrives off of emotion. He's an emotional player, just like I Will Dominate was.
Sure.
And, just moments ago, he kind of charged back on stage. He's pumped for Game 3. We're pumped for Game 3. Of course, Bunny Fufu is coming back in for Game 3. I'm sure he's pumped for Game 3 as well. But I think a lot of people coming into the series would not have expected it to go to 3 games. Based on what we had seen from these two teams, a lot of people would say, hey, Cloud9, I'm expecting these guys to come out and probably pretty easily 2-0, but Liquid's coming out and they're throwing punches hard, and they're looking to take the series against our third-place team.
I totally agree, and keep in mind, this is Liquid, coming into the back, like the final match of the first round of games, and keep in mind, first couple of weeks, first couple of matches, they played with Moon, right? Some maybe unfortunate losses. If they had played with this lineup the whole time, they might have had 1 or 2 more match wins and be like, oh yeah, that is one of those top 4 teams. Yeah, they'd just be sitting there like replacing Envy or maybe even replacing C9 at third. If this was an alternate universe, this lineup was here at the beginning, who knows? And so now we get to watch this and 9 more matches of Liquid with this roster.
Exactly.
Look pretty good.
And this series itself is turning out to be a fantastic one. We've got a tie on our hands, 1-1. So take this opportunity to get on Facebook, open up Twitter, call your mom, tell your friends. Team Liquid and Cloud9 are heading into Game 3. Well, really, it's Game 4. It's our first Game 4 of a best of 3 series that we've ever had. You're watching the North American LCS. We'll see you in a bit.
Let's get it. Let's squad up, bless up, fam, etc.
Is it enough to topple Cloud9, who are looking for, I believe, at least 6 straight wins? But Dardoch almost souls him, gonna flash forward for it. Red buff almost enough. Bracing it, gets juked out, and the death threat.
Punch him. There's no flash, you have to flash. Nice. Punch him. Nice.
I'm on Graves too, I'm on Graves.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah, hell yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Feels good, man. Jensen, Shenno coming in now. Jensen getting it blown up. Whoa. Phoenix takes him out after the flash, and Sneaky's caught now as well. Dardoch unrelenting. And TL with plenty of power behind them are going to take Game 2's Nexus and force us to a final game.